Well, good evening, everybody. I'm sorry we're actually a minute and a half late, as Councillor Carter has told me, but nevertheless, we mustn't start until we are ready. Right, apologies for absence, Claire?
None.
Okay, that's very good. Declarations of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two items, 00327 and 00425. I'll be leaving the room.
Okay, let me just get that one right. What was the first one you said?
00327. That's the cottage at Belcott Manor
Right,
Farm.
okay.
And 00425, the Honeymoon Restaurant.
Right, and should I mention to everybody that we actually have one of our councillors, an Ashford Borough councillor who we know who is living on Beacon Oak Road, but in no way will that affect our viewing this case. Would everybody agree with me on that? I'm talking about Councillor Cloakey.
Could you speak a little closer to the microphone so that the residents can hear you?
How's that?
Oh, that's fine.
Well, I see. More humour. Right, I think we... How's that? Jolly good. We'll blame Claire, can we? Because she didn't put it close to me today. Is that right? Anyway, that's enough from you, Councillor Carter. I think that we should all declare that on item number 18/00177, the garages, 2 to 8 Beacon Road, Councillor Cloakey actually lives in that road and he is known to us, but no way do we actually socialise, and we are able to speak on it. Members agree? Yes? Thank you very much. Right. Thank you.
Isworth Barn, East Cross, 00349. I should be leaving the room, immediate neighbour to the barn.
Right, okay. Anybody else? Councillor Mulholland, you're looking very... No? Okay.
No interest at all.
Yeah. Right, thanks very much. Item 3, the minutes of our last meeting. We all read them. Are they a true recording of our meeting? Thank you very much. All those in favour, please show. Right, I will sign them now. Okay. Did you? Oh. Were they? Okay. All right. I'll have mine later. Okay. Yes. Thanks very much. Now, item 4, matters arising. Any matters arising from that? Oh. Item 5, councillors' questions.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Is the public not allowed to ask any questions either here?
Phil, can I have correct?
They're generally asked at the point of the particular agenda
And
item.
they have notified us anyway, haven't they? Yeah. Okay, we've got speakers. Councillor.
It's not a question, it's a point of 00177, it's in Southwood, not Northwood. The entire area of development is within the red line of Southwood.
So, you're saying that 177 is Southward?
The entire area of the development, checked it with ordnance survey, is within Southwood.
Right.
So, there's a little bulge in Southwood that encompasses all the garages to the boundary line
Right. I think we should also give the councillors in North Ward the opportunity, because they probably looked at the application and probably wish to say something. Can we note that one? Okay. Thank you very much. Extra work for you guys to do. Right. Right. You wanted to ask a question, Councillor Carter? Okay. Oh, yes, you did. Thank you very much. Item number 6, the planning applications. Our first one is 17/01494, Oast Cottage, Cranbrook Road. In your ward, Councillor Carter, any comments?
Yeah, I've looked at this one and I can't see too much problem with this going forward as part of a development of this site.
No other comments. Okay. I'm very concerned. I think the comments that have been made by a neighbour are in fact right, and I think that officers should take into consideration some of those comments, especially if there are to be any floodlighting. I think there's quite a lot of work that has got to be done as far as conditions are concerned. The principle is well known as far as menages and stables are concerned, but it's just the other little things that there is a knock on. Councillor Curteis, I believe you wish to speak on this one.
I was brought up on this road about 200 yards from this property. Unless drainage has improved, I wholeheartedly agree with the objector. Those grounds below the property are subject to flooding. This house itself, I presume now, has septic tanks, but it used to have just a soakaway that went down into the field. So you add any more drainage to there, you're going to cause more problems. The other thing that concerns me is the access. That road has a very sharp bend, a couple 100 yards above it. When you come round that bend, you have no vision of what is coming out of Oastcott or going into it. You've got to get down past the first property. If you've got a horse box going in there and there is no speed restriction, only the national limit on that road, it's a lot different to having a car going in and out, and people do use that as a racetrack. It is going, and there's also another nasty bend at the bottom where there have been a number of accidents where Channels Park Road comes out into that road.
Yeah, I think the points that you make are very right. Anybody else wishing to make a comment?
I'd just like to comment that this is in an area of outstanding natural beauty, and I'm not sure the materials that are proposed are appropriate. We're talking about concrete block walls and corrugated sheeting roof. I thought better materials could be used, bearing in mind the environment.
So, anybody else? You actually share the concerns of Councillor Curteis?
Councillor Curteis knows far more about that road than I do in terms of traffic and so forth, but I can see her point. Yeah.
As I say, the actual principle is fine. It's just the other problems that possibly could happen. Councillor Carter, you've heard some comments. So what are you actually proposing?
On the basis of that, I would perhaps propose that we actually wait until we get Kent County Council's results of the road access into there and take their comments on that, and perhaps it might be pertinent to have a site visit to the site as well, just to have a look at this and see exactly where it does come out onto the roadway here.
I would concur with that. I think, as members are a little bit unsure, as I say, the principle of a menage and a stable on an adjoining field is no problem. It's the actual knock-on effect that it has. Drainage is a problem. Access is a bit of a concern. And if there is going to be any floodlighting, then that will affect neighbouring property. So I would be quite happy if we could... members happy to have a site visit? Yes? Okay. So we request a site visit if we can. And make those points to the office. Yes. Yeah, okay. I'll probably give you something tomorrow. Members happy with that one? Okay. Thank you very much. Right, we're now on St Michael's Ward, and it's 17/01904, 23 Wayside Avenue, single-storey front extension to garage. Right, we have a new member of St Michael's Ward here tonight, but unfortunately the dog has eaten his agenda. So, you've got one, good. So we will kick off with Councillor Mulholland.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Yes, I've looked at this and I think it's a very straightforward infill extension at the front. It is a fairly busy and well-occupied road, lots of cars, but I think what they're proposing does not breach any of the planning laws that I can see.
Okay, Councillor Curteis.
Yes, I've also had a look at this and I see no problems with what they're proposing at all.
Right, this is your opportunity.
Hello. I agree with the councillors. It all seems pretty straightforward to me.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the public, this is our latest councillor that has just spoken. So, well done. All right, you don't have to bow. Okay. You're proposing, Councillor?
Yes, I'll propose to accept. Yeah.
All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yes, just two. Scott. Yeah. Okay. Just give me a shout. Right. Next one is South Ward. It's 18/00174. Esplanado, I think that is. Anyway, Golden Square. The creation of a new access. South Ward, please. Who wishes to speak on this one? Thank you.
So there's a number of properties along that road that have dropped curbs and access on parking near to their house. And I see nothing wrong with this at all, apart from there's a couple of stipulations from the highways that they haven't let their neighbours know and that the hedge needs cutting back either side.
Yes.
So as long as that happens, which I'm sure it will, I have no objection.
Right, so you wish to support
I wish to
subject
support this one,
Okay.
yeah.
So who else have we got here from South Ward? Councillor Isworth.
I don't think I've got anything to add to the last comment, really. As long as Kent Highways requirements are met, then this seems in keeping with a number of other properties. So I would support it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had a look at this. My concerns were over visibility and display over the neighbours' gardens, but apart from that, as long as everything is adhered to, I can't see any problems.
So we are proposing support subject to the highways stipulation. Yeah. Okay. Well, all those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Right. On the papers, it's North Ward actually, but it's the 177. It's the garages behind 2 to 8 Beacon Oak Road. So, North Ward, would you like to have your say first? Oh, and we have a speaker who wishes to speak, and it is Julian Thorne. would you like to come, take a seat and tell us exactly who you are and where you live from, please, Julian?
Okay. Evening. My name's Julian Thorne. I live at 8 Beacon Oak Road. I'm also speaking on behalf of the residents at 6 and 4 Beacon Oak Road and 6 Rothley Close to oppose the application. The 5 previous applications to build on this site have all been rejected, including an appeal, for the very simple reason that the site is not appropriate to build a house on. Previous rejected applications have included a variety of designs, including for a modest traditional design 3-bedroomed house and a 2-bedroom bungalow. This application is for a far bigger house that would have an even more harmful impact. It's 3 double bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, double garage with full height windows and balcony at first floor. However, we believe the site is unsuitable to build a house on, whatever the size or design. Our specific objections fall under 2 headings: the failure to meet general planning requirements, and the second is the impact on the conservation area. Taking general planning requirements first, there are 3 parts to the ASHFORD Local Plan Policy DP2. This application fails on all 3: privacy and amenity, appropriate design, and reasonable access. In terms of privacy and amenity, because the site is a constrained small backland site looking into the backs of houses on all sides, more than 5 different houses will suffer a serious loss of privacy and amenity. The proposal has a first floor balcony and many first floor windows and a double height glass wall, some of which are between 20 and 22 metres from the windows of the surrounding houses and the modest gardens of all the surrounding houses. Moving on to design, it is an inappropriate design for a building in an inappropriate place. 3 flat boxes clad in painted timber with large windows. The site is a constrained L shape built close to the boundaries. The building would have an overbearing and bulky impact and would negatively impact the outlook of all the surrounding properties. The third reason, reasonable access. The site is at the end of a 40-metre track that is just 2.4 metres wide. My neighbours at 4 Beacon Oak Road have a double garage at the end of the track. To use the garage safely, they currently have a right-of-way to reverse into the 9-garage plot in order to be able to exit onto Beacon Oak Road driving forwards. The proposal places a gate preventing Tim from reversing into the plot, meaning he will have to reverse 40 metres down the narrow track and out backwards into busy Beacon Oak Road. This is not reasonable access, and given Tim's driving, could be considered dangerous. Our second major area of objection concerns the conservation area. Contrary to ASHFORD policies EN16 and GP10 and national planning policies and legislation as they relate to this site within the designated conservation area, we believe the development of the site will cause substantial harm to the character and appearance of the conservation area. The specific proposal is a highly modern design, not particularly well done, with no respect for the surrounding area and traditional materials. We are very concerned that any development of the site will inevitably damage the substantial mature trees and hedgerows that are on and overhang the site. The damage will occur both during construction and in occupation. As to take just one example, the proposed first floor balcony currently looks directly into a mature tree canopy. The plot is currently a valuable open and natural space with low-rise garages that are in use. The natural value of the area was recognised specifically as a reason for refusal in the last planning appeal. Nothing has changed since, except the trees and hedgerows and accompanying wildlife have naturally flourished. So, in conclusion, our objection can be summed up in just one simple sentence. This small, constrained, L-shaped site is surrounded by close houses on all sides, is, and always has been, an inappropriate site to build any house, and certainly not this particular one. This house would have a worse impact than the 5 previously rejected schemes. Technically, we believe the proposal is a clear contravention of local plan policies EN16, GP10, DP2, and the Planning and Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act and the National Planning Policy Framework. Thanks very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Justin, have you done some work on this one?
I have, yes. I would certainly recommend that we oppose it, on the main grounds being overdevelopment, loss of privacy, loss of amenity, and unsympathetic design, despite being in a conservation area.
Okay, thank you. Henry?
Chairman, my colleague on the North Ward here is taking a view perhaps that I've not yet reached, mainly because I started to walk to the site but didn't feel comfortable and walked back. I really do believe I would like to see the site. I see we have the advantage of calling one site meeting already for next meeting, and I think in fairness to everyone, considering there have been 5 previous applications, I would like to see the details of those as well, and the reasons for the refusal. I accept that it breaks quite a few of the national policy frameworks edicts that have been mentioned to us. I don't know whether 20 to 22 metres is sufficient space to the existing dwellings. So before I take the view of my colleague here, I really think that I need to see the mature canopies, I need to see the wildlife threat, and I also want to know whether those garages are in use.
Right. Okay.
So I don't have the information.
Right. We'll go round the because we've been lobbied quite considerably. I take it everybody has been lobbied. No. Well,
No.
Okay. Fine. Anyway, I know I've done a lot of work on it, so.
I have done a site visit. I met the owner of the garage while I was there, and I have to say I was shocked at how small it is, and shocked at how they could even consider a building there, because it just overlooks everybody's garden, so everybody will lose their privacy. I don't think it's necessary for the other councillors to see it, because I think it's a very clear-cut case of rejectus. It's just a not suitable area at all. And also concerned about whether emergency vehicles would be able to access the site. I mean, there's just so many reasons, but mostly the privacy, the fact they're just trying to put such a small house into such a small area.
Yeah,
I disagree with that. So I reject.
Councillor Ferguson, can I? Do you send the email to every councillor?
No, I just sent it to the planning committee.
The planning committee.
Actually, no, you and the North Ward, because at the time it was considered to be in North Ward. So I had all the pictures that I took. Perhaps they could be photocopied, but not. They could be in the next few minutes. They could be photocopied if people want to see it, because it's in my sent items.
Okay. Councillor Isworth?
Yes, well, I've also visited the site, and I agree with Councillor Dr. Lovelidge. It's too small, in my opinion, for a development, and the access is a major problem, and the garages are in use.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gooch?
Yeah, having lived up at Beacon Oak opposite this area a few years ago, I agree it is totally inappropriate and it is not suitable for building on.
Yep. Councillor Crawford, it's your ward, have you? Yeah. Right, okay. I have to say that I too have done quite a bit of history on this one, and we had a very, very good letter from yourself and also your neighbour, Councillor Thornton, who, in my opinion, has sewn up the sort of recommendation that I believe that we should be doing. We've got to look at history. Can you hear me at the end? Good. We've got to look at history and, in my opinion, I don't think, Henry, we actually need a site meeting if there's sufficient people here that are going to vote for it.
Yeah, Chairman, can I just say the reason why I thought there could be some merit in this is that we've recently looked at Jackson's Lane, as you know, which has a narrow isthmus, and there is a site there. And can someone tell me, is it larger than Jackson Lane site? Much larger?
Tiny.
It's smaller again.
Much smaller.
Smaller again.
Yeah.
Thank
very,
you.
very narrow as well.
Yes.
So you've got that L-shaped.
Good. Well, I should have walked further, shouldn't I? I came to a
Right.
stop.
All those in favour, and Justin, your comments were your recommendation.
Grounds for objecting would be overdevelopment, loss of privacy, loss of amenity, and unsympathetic design.
Okay. All those in favour, please show.
It is objecting.
Objecting.
Yes. Yeah. That's following what Justin has just said. Okay. You happy? Happy? Good. Right, we now go to 18/00313, 17 to 17A High Street. And yes, thank you very much. And it is for listed building on this one. So it's South Ward again. Who's going to speak? Thank you. Councillor Isworth.
I don't have any objections to this, assuming that the listed building side of it are acceptable. There are no objections, and it seems reasonable and sympathetic.
Okay.
Yeah, the internal partition walls that they would like to remove are not listed, not part of the original building,
right.
so I have no objection to this at all.
Okay.
No, I have no problems with this. The only thing I would like to make known, to make sure the entrance is ideal for wheelchairs, pushchairs and better access, that's all.
Okay. No.
I've got no objections as long as the the listings officer has no objections.
Okay. All right, thank you. So we're going for refusal. Sorry, approval, sorry. I'm afraid it's one of those days, sorry. I'll pass over to Henry in a bit, actually. We are supporting, okay? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. All right. We're going 322 Mayfield, Ingleston Park Road, erection of a rear conservatory. That is North Ward again. Are you going to speak on that one? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This was quite an interesting one. I actually had to go and have a look to see how it fitted the plan fitted the building. I see nothing wrong at all with this planning application. The driveway is clearly off Ingledem Park Road. There is no way into the garden area from ASHFORD Road. So the rear is what you see from ASHFORD Road, and the front is what you don't see from ASHFORD Road, if you understand me. So having corrected all the plans that were submitted, I certainly support this, and it's just going to be a nice little addition to that property.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very straightforward.
Thank you.
I see no problems. I'd support as well.
Right, anybody else wishing to speak? Nope. All right. Can I have a vote for support, please? All those in favour? Thank you. Right, okay, we're now on 18, right? Yeah. All right, 18/327, The Cottage, Smallheath Road. New single-storey side extension, conversion of existing attached barn with first floor extension over and a new cart-style garage. West Ward, Councillor?
Yeah, again, I don't see any problem with this one. There's a bit of alteration to the residential curtilage, but I don't see that as being particularly a sticking point, and I'd recommend approval of this one.
Okay, fine. I actually agree with you on that. Anybody else wishing to make a comment? Nope. Right, all those in favour for support, please show. Just wait for Councillor Nelson to come in. Thank you. Okay, next one is 18/00349 Eastwell Barn, East Cross. It's in North Ward. Any comments? Justin?
Although it says application for full planning permission, presumably this is in effect for conservation area consent. I can't see a problem at all.
No.
No, I'd support it.
Okay. I can't see a problem with it. Anybody else? Nope. All those in favour for support, please show. Okay. Right, next one is Hudson's Farm, Sandy Lane, proposed garage and workshop. Application number 18/00351. Is Henry coming in? It's in South Ward. That was quick, Henry. Right, South Ward. Who's going to speak first? Councillor Isworth?
Yes, this is quite a significant building, but it's a very secluded site. I don't think it would impinge on anyone else, and there aren't any objections from near neighbours. The only comments have been made that there can't be any interference in the bridleway that runs alongside the site. But it's sympathetically done, and I see no objection.
Okay, fine. Councillor Lovelidge, you're happy?
Yep, no, I'm happy with this one. Support it.
Councillor Gooch?
Yeah, I'm happy with this one.
Okay, right. All those in favour for support, please show. Okay, that has been passed. Thank you very much. Next one is in North Ward. 353, the Woodlands. No, we've just done that one, haven't we? No, okay, fine. Erection of a 1.3 high front wall. Application for full planning permission. North Ward again.
Chairman, this is a question where the bank is rising into the garden from the lower public area. The brick wall will be 1.3 metres high, and there'll be wrought iron railings between the piers, a typical sort of design that you would expect to see. And I think obviously somebody has to do something with the bank as it is, so great. Yep, so
support, fine. Yeah.
Yes, I see no objection. I support.
Fine. Anybody else wishing to speak on this one? No? All those in favour for support, please show. Okay, thank you very much. We have a speaker for this next one. Who is it? Mr. Ray Platt. Okay, you'd like to come to the table. Please state your name and your address, please.
Thank you. Oh, there you go. My name's Ray Pratt. I live in Wittersham, 9 Coomlands, Wittersham. And we've applied for the change of use to the current Honeymoon restaurant from A3 to A4 planning. We wanted the opportunity to address the committee because in this case we feel it's rather misleading. We have already written outlining our plans. It's for a micro pub and a tapas bar. Clearly we think the tapas bar speaks for itself. There isn't really much to answer for on that. But we do think that the micro pub might be a bit of an unknown to some people. Largely we think, well, we do understand there might be some cause for concern over inappropriate behaviour late night and what have you. We don't think our business model will actually impact this because if anybody is particularly familiar with micro pubs, it's selling real ale, some real cider. It's not your stereotypical pub. It will not attract younger people largely, and it is much more limited hours. So, you know, we're not going to be around when a lot of these problems happen. We are also, speaking for myself, my partner's over there as well, Sarah, we're both very experienced in this trade. I mean, I've been in the trade 25 plus years now, and we really are not going to encourage the type of custom that could be a problem. Indeed, I don't want it myself either. But also, I think it's, you know, it would be a good addition to the town. It's something that's not actually in existence as yet. It won't be of huge impact, but I do believe that it could well introduce more custom into the town. Certainly one or two of the people that I've spoken to, I mean, one lady in particular intends to use it as a bit of a creche for her husband, I think, while she's shopping. So, but we really just want to highlight the fact that because change of use to A4 just lists it as a drinking establishment, and I really do think in this case is rather misleading. It isn't quite as much of an impact as perhaps it could be.
Okay. Thank you very much. Henry, you're the only one here from North Ward. Do you want to speak on this one?
Thank you, Chairman. Can I just say how grateful I am that there is an explanation to this change of use. It did need defining. Thank you very much. I do have a question for Ray. Might I just ask, are there any plans to use the rear garden area at all for public? Well, that really is the only thing that I think is not covered here, Chairman. I'm glad to see that there'd be no live music, no gaming machines. So, bearing in mind that these premises were once a public house in 1964, it was the ancient borough, and had been for nearly 140 years before that. And quite obviously people will have no trouble in welcoming another outlet like this in the town, especially since this Tampus application is it? Did I say the wrong word? What's it called? Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so this is obviously something that we've imported to this country then, is it, this type of bar?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks very supportable and I wish them luck with this application.
Councillor, can I just... you're saying support, but you would not wish the rear garden to be used for entertainment?
Well, I think we've already had that as an affirmative that it will not be used as a rear garden, because
we've got to put that in writing.
Indeed, Chairman, I bow to your wisdom there. I think that must be the case. History tells us, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody else? Councillor Mulholland.
Yes, I'd just like to add my support. It's not my ward, but it's great to see an initiative like this that adds variety to the town, will kickstart a bit of regeneration, it will add a new dimension, and I do believe it will improve the economy as well, in a very positive way.
So you're adding to your second.
I'm second. I'm happy to second the support.
Anybody else on this side? No? This side? Councillor Freeman, as our youngest member, you pleased to see this in the town?
Yes, I support this.
Okay. Right. All those that are in favour, please show.
Chairman, are you going to clip the proviso to that?
This has already been noted by my trusty clerk.
Okay. Were you going to include live music as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. She normally rings me the following day if there's a problem. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I think we have voted on that one, so we're happy. Okay. Right. Item 7. we have the decisions of Ashford Borough Council Planning Committee, list 564. Can we note that? Yes? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Have we a speaker on this one? Who? What's his name? Yes. Mr. Poole. Is Mr. Poole here? I believe you wish to talk on this one, item 8, to revisit the issue of the housing allocation of Tent 1B, and that's what we're discussing now, Tent 1B. Okay?
I should try and make sure that I don't, get any complaints about not being heard. So, because I do find that sometimes with the audio, it's not very clear. So,
well, I suggest that you bring the microphone a bit nearer to you.
How's that? Right. My name is Albert Poole, and I live at Rose Cottage, Appledore Road, in Tenterden. I will refer to the planning committee of the 29th of January this year. I raised an issue in the response of the Town Council to the ABC local plan to 2030. At the time, I state that the 225 units on Tent 1B was in line with the original number of units on Tent 1, which was 475. And this was part of the Tenterden Rural Sites Development Plan document. The indicative split was Phase A 300 and Phase B 175. In the event, Tent 1A has only produced 250, a shortfall of 50 units. In the light of the added pressure on ABC, or Ashford Borough Council, to increase numbers in the borough, it should not be surprising that they have increased Tent 1B to 225. In the email correspondence following the meeting, you confirmed your view that the public consultation over Tent 1 requested that Tent 1B should be less dense than Tent 1A. We're now 8 years on, and there's a dramatic shift in the housing landscape. Government obviously response to housing shortages, etc. If you adopt a stance of not accepting the increase, you risk undermining the attempt of Ashford Borough Council to protect Tenterden from unsustainable and unabsorbable development. Waits have launched an attack on the local plan in terms of the lack of growth in Tenterden. And their study shows, for those who haven't seen it, it's actually on the Ashford Borough site. Their study shows that circa 1,200 dwellings are needed during the planned period. They also call into question the 5-year housing and land supply put forward by Ashford, which again will put pressure on the council. They have raised many issues for the examiners to consider. We need to support Ashford in this plan. We need to demonstrate that this historic town should be given, should be given special status in the borough and not allow the developers to decide its future via their own demands to maximise profits. Remember why it's called the jewel in the wheel. Also remember, if that was the case of another 600 plus units, that might be Lyons Land first. It could probably be Westwell to follow it. So just bear that in mind when you discuss the actual local plan that you see before you now. Okay, thank you. That's my pitch. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your... Okay. We have additional information. on our green papers. Members. Who would like to make a comment on this one? Councillor Isworth.
Having sat for over 2 years on the steering committee for the development of Tent 1A, a great deal of public consultation took place about the design and the type of houses. I think one has to bear in mind that the Tent 1B site, of course, is a lot larger in area than Tent 1A. And I think one has to bear in mind as well, with the Tilden Gill development still ringing in my ears, that there is an issue with the delivery of house building. And the Ashford Borough Council plan is designed to try and defend areas like Tenterden from other sites that have not been allocated being put forward for development on the grounds that not enough houses have been actually built. And I think, although I agreed with the original design of making the Tent 1B site more rural as it extended away from the town, there would be a significant risk if this is not supported. And the view of Bachelor Monk House is that this can be incorporated into a much larger site, that other unallocated sites will be brought forward. I think that is a significant risk, and I think we need to bear that in mind very carefully.
Yes, we're actually talking about the 50 additional units here. And I have to say, I personally agree with what you've just said. Are you anybody looking at me? Henry?
Thank you, Chairman. I do wish to speak. I hear what my colleagues are saying, and I'm thinking back now to 2003, 2005. And for me, it goes against the studies and the logic of using the land in the first place to increase the density on this particular part of that farmland. Former Councillor Weller, who was the most accomplished chairman of planning, in his time he actually planned the high-speed 1 route north of Maidstone up to Rootham. He produced a dossier that even John Aldenton praised in 2005 as the way forward. Now, there's a file lays up there behind the chairman. That is just Tent 1A there. I'm getting another one together for Tent 1B. And in there, you can find at the beginning the criteria that was set for Tenterden in this dossier. Now, with the Ashford Borough Council consistently having their hands tied in aspects of the core strategy and the local plan formation, due to the human rights laws, the Tenterden Town Council was told never to recommend where, but only what, why, when and how, in considering its wish list for 2003, revised in 2009. Now, to date, some 15 years later, not a single item on that approved list has come about. Not a single item. It's not much better for the youth list either. Now, if councillors are seeking to change the 2005 forward-looking programme, because by squeezing more units onto Tent 1B, it might take the pressure off Waitside or Westwell land, then I would ask them to consider what guarantee can they make that Tom Lewis, the owner of all the land in the B scheme, would bring this forward, when to delay selling the land puts money solely into his pockets and not shared with a former owner. 50, even 100 extra homes should not be used as an inducement to market his land, which, if it comes before 2029, it would be in the category that I've just mentioned. However, if it doesn't, it's still in the forefront of the next local plan. And by holding it onto it, of course, it would be worth more to him. The appeal inspector, Mr. Chairman, has again cited the lack of deliverable housing provision to pass the Jarvis site now. Before that, it was days. I think that if Waits were to put a planning application in today, that hole is still not plugged and would probably get nodded through on the same grounds. I don't remain convinced with this argument about increasing it. The only way that I would accept increasing the number of units on Tent 1B would be if it were flats. In other words, going up an extra floor rather than putting extra buildings on the land and making it what I call the ASHFORD look. We've heard from Albert Poole. Albert Poole has quite interesting things to say to us from time to time. He raises the special character of Tenterden. I believe that special character stretches down that road. And what I don't want to see is I don't want to see a lot of houses put there just in order to perhaps prevent other sites being developed in Tenterden. That's how I feel, Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Lovelidge.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the 50 additional units are flats, not houses. So the actual, yeah, no, they are flats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it is flat. So the actual space they're going to take up will be very little.
Mm-hmm.
Chairman, can I just reply to my colleague? I certainly had missed that point, Councillor Lovelidge. I certainly had missed that point. I recently helped a young family move into the second floor on some flats in ASHFORD, and I could see that going up into the air gives you more space around, and the prices of those properties are therefore going to be less because it takes up less land. So my argument would still be that I'm not convinced that what we're about to do is going to stop what we think it can stop. But if it is 50 extra flats and they are going to go upwards rather than sidewards, then I could change my view.
Okay.
Thank you.
Carry on.
So I think when the public consultation happened, it was at a time when we didn't have the risk of the Waits development or Westwell Court or anything, and I think if it had happened now, then people would have taken a different decision, as Mr. Poole said. So I'm of the view that I hope that the ABC plan, local plan, is robust. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just affect us, it affects the whole area. And we should say agree to those houses, because I don't want to open up any of the other sites in Tenterden, and I want to protect Tenterden's green land as much as possible.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Yeah, I would like to second that proposal by Councillor Lovelidge. I mean, I've actually read over the last few weeks the original 2010 rural Tenterden, which actually proposed the 475. Mm-hmm. I can see no reason why that number should change. And also, I can't say I've read the 2030 ASHFORD plan, because I think I'll be here until next Christmas to actually read it in detail, but certainly I've read sufficient of there where I feel comfortable with what it's recommending is a robust and sensible plan. Yes, you can always tweak things here and there, and you can do that until the cows come home. But to be quite honest, as it stands at the moment, I think it's a good plan.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you. Anybody else wishing to make a comment? Okay, right. Thank you.
Okay. I should have mentioned at the outset that I have heard from a number of residents in the Small Hythe Road area who are very concerned that there shouldn't be the extra units. The Tent 1A development has not accommodated as many units as had been estimated. Some people say the shortfall should be made up on the Tent 1B site. Others say the principle of less dense development on Tent 1B means the number of units should actually be reduced from 175 to a lower figure. ASHFORD has taken the view that to help meet its housing targets, the number of units should be increased, and that's why it's amended its draft local plan. Until tonight, we as a town council have taken the view that while not reducing the number of units from the originally estimated 175, there should be no increase, so 175 units should still be the aim. In the end, the final number will depend on the detailed layout and design of the site, but the higher the estimated number of units in the local plan, the easier it is for a developer to insist on squeezing up to that number onto the site. My view is that the Town Council should adhere to the view that 175 is the number of units that the public consultation process deemed appropriate. There is an argument for reducing this number to maintain the distinction between Tent 1A and Tent 1B, but I can't see any good argument for increasing it.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Carter.
Yeah. I must say I agree with those comments. There was a long public consultation over many years that went through with a lot of people in public consulted on this. I think to roller coaster it through on one meeting with the Town Council will go against any public consultation in the future, and we shouldn't be looking towards doing that. I feel we should support the 175 that's already allocated. I believe that number of 175 is in the 2010 the local plan anyway, so those numbers are actually starting to roll back from there. It's not included in the 20 plan. The numbers are just starting to roll out of control for these housing developments within the borough as such. I think what the government is imposing upon us is, and the country as such, is quite something, but we've got to work with it. I think we should stick to our plans and run with that and look at providing some decent town planning and some green space within the town for sports facilities to help ourselves, some open green space. And remember, we've taken a huge chunk of that tract of that land out of it already for the wetland development between Tent 1A and Tent 1B, so it will get even denser than the 175 there. So I'd be in favour of sticking with the 175 anyway.
Okay. Councillor Isworth.
I see that we've got two borough councillors present. Would it be advisable to have their view?
I'm very happy for them to come and talk to us should they wish. Come. Do you want to use the mic?
No, I can talk from here.
Okay.
No, you've got to talk in the mic, otherwise people won't be able to. I strongly agree with Councillor Cloakey. Our, where we are as a borough council is on paper already. However, there's one little point I want to make on this one.
Can you bring the mic a bit closer?
The original scheme looked at 475, then it went to 425, and in effect the Borough Council are asking for up to 475. It doesn't mean that a finished
design will be 475. I'm sure most developers like to try and squeeze as much as in there. If you look at the latest designs of the new developments around the country, they are building very good quality developments within the densification parameters of the 475 number. The inclusion of flats, I think, is quite key. If the flats are then designated into the affordable housing piece, it could very well be a critical way of the young people within this borough to stay in this borough. There is not enough affordable housing being built, and I mean truly affordable housing. I really would like to see some better schemes. Perhaps, this could be something that Councillor Carter and Councillor Nelson, in their talks with the embryonic housing project that they've talked about. And one other point, putting these in, if back in the day it was a case of putting, the multitude of sites of, if the densification was kept at 475, you wouldn't have a further development, I'm pretty sure the people would have gone for that number. I can only echo Mr Paul's comments of Tenterden is a very, very special place. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, though. It's so special that so many people want to come and live here now.
Thanks very much. Crawford.
Yeah, if I can just add one extra comment which just been sparked off. Most of you will be aware that it wasn't that long ago when I was actually canvassing as councillor for South Ward, and therefore I spoke to a large number of people at people's houses. And one of there were a number of themes, but we'll stick to the housing theme. One of the comments was that why do we always build all these big houses that were expensive? We want local people, local young people, to be able to buy small accommodation that they can actually afford. And this is an opportunity which Councillor Isworth mentioned earlier about that the developer, or Batchford, sorry, I'm not sure what the name was now, are prepared to build these 1 and 2 bedroom flats, and I think it will be an ideal opportunity for the local young people to buy property which is a lot cheaper and it allows them to get their foot on the lever.
Okay. A couple of members haven't spoken so far. Does anybody wish to, before I add my 2 penny worth?
Yeah, just very quickly, I listened to the commentary from all of my colleagues that's spoken. I'm very keen on affordable housing. I'm very keen on keeping young people born in Tenterden to stay in Tenterden, and the fact that the flats would provide that opportunity, one hopes, would make me swing to support that way. So I think it's a good idea, personally. Biggest complaint is very, very expensive houses that we continue to build.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It is the younger ones that we need to keep in this town. And they don't have anywhere to live at the moment. They can't afford these big houses. I know they can't. So if we can get smaller properties that they can afford, then perhaps they will stay and keep the town going.
Okay.
I agree with everything that's been said. We do need to keep families of children that were born here, enable them to come back into the town and stay here. It's their heritage, and they should be able to stay in the town that they were born in if they want to, and they can't at the moment because there's nothing they can afford to live in.
Okay, who humped out? Yes.
Hello. I believe that the young people of the town should absolutely be able to afford a place to live. I don't believe that the developers will build those houses, so I do not support this increase.
You're saying that you don't support the extra 50 houses?
Because they still won't make them affordable.
It depends on what you're going to say.
So I wonder what the council can do to somehow enforce that these houses are sold at a proper...
I think you should be speaking to Councillor Clokey and Callan over there.
okay.
My feeling is that by agreeing for these extra 50 dwellings, enough is enough. I think government are pressing ASHFORD and other communities for more and more housing. I think to a certain degree, compared to some of the other parishes that we've got, the extra 50 is, we've been quite lucky. We can't have any more houses. This community cannot accept any more. But I think if it's going to be 50 extra dwellings and they're going to be flats, I personally can actually agree with that. Anybody else wishing to say? Because at the moment...
Chairman, following what you've just said, can I refer a question to Councillor Lovelidge? Can we just be clear about the extra 50? Will they be flats, or are those flats already within the original 175?
They are. In our sheet here, it says they're flats.
Yeah, my question basically is, are the extra 50 flats?
The extra 50 are flats.
Yes. Okay.
Not 50 houses.
Yeah. Chairman, most interesting comment from Councillor Freeman, I thought, from the younger perspective. I think there isn't a member in this room of this planning committee that expected the cost of the houses of Tent 1 to be seriously at the top end of where they have fetched up. This particular land has one owner. The Tent 1A had 7 in all, 7 people who had to be satisfied. So obviously we couldn't go for a rebated amount for the town council's land because that wouldn't have been fair on our partners. However, I hope that Councillor Freeman serves a long time on this council and he will eventually see houses built in this town that the youngsters can afford, and if they do become flats, well, that will be a good step towards what he desires. I do not remain convinced, though, that this is going to stop the pressure on other land companies.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to? Yep, fine. Have your say.
The proposed plans that Bachelor Monkhouse spoke about, I mean, are only proposals. There's no certainty to what they're going to put in once the 2030 plan goes ahead. If you're minded to go ahead with more housing on the development, I will vote against that. But I would also like to put in there that the allocation of allotments should be taken out and given to the Community Land Trust, so the Community Land Trust can work towards getting young people housing built, because the land is free, and that's the way to get some housing built that is right and proper.
Okay, so who actually proposed it out of you two?
I suppose it was me.
Right. Would you like to, yes, would you like to just sum that up very quickly? You don't have to read the lot.
No. Well, I think that my proposal is that the total of dwellings would be the same as originally proposed. As these new or additional developments on Tent 1B are said to be flats, the advantages of that are that it accords with the Borough Council local plan, and also should mean that these will be potentially more affordable, because they may well come under the aegis of a housing association rather than being sold on the open market. So I would support this, although I agree that this is a change from the original consultation process.
Right. Lisa, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Pardon? Who's asked for a count? Why have you asked for Okay, all those in favour, please show.
Can we have a recorded vote, please?
She's doing a count.
I move for a recorded vote.
You want a recorded vote? Okay. Okay. Right. All right, we'll start with you, Henry. You're saying?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Right. Are you paying attention, Claire? Or have you abstained? You're against. Right. One against. Roy, you're obviously for. Right. 4. Against, and me 4. Okay. All right. Okay. We're also asked to select a member to represent the council at the hearing, and I've been asked by several of you to reaffirm that I am prepared to go. Anybody else want to go instead of me? Please put the hand up. Yes. I just hope I feel better, because tonight I feel unwell, actually. Okay, thank you. You got that one? Item 9, if you remember at our last meeting, we gave the town clerk permission to fill in the survey, but we wished to see what he had actually written, and it's on the green papers. Does anybody... well, Phil, do you want to make any comment about it first, or see if anybody thinks your writing's terrible?
Oh, I think I can. I'm sure everybody thinks my writing's terrible.
Yep.
I don't have any experience in this area, so if anybody wants to make any amendments to the responses, then I'm quite happy for them to do so. Otherwise, I shall submit it.
Chairman. Right. So if we can actually look at the form in front of us, and yes, Henry, you were saying?
Oh, you're going to run through the form, are you?
Yep.
Okay.
Page 1. Question 1. We said yes. Okay.
Yep.
The next page. Question 2. We've said yes. Yep. Any comment? Not applicable. Question 4. We've said yes. Anybody? Members of the public, if I could have a bit of hush because we can't hear what's happening. So yes there. Where are we now? Question 5. Yes. We said yes, and you have written, Phil?
Yes, question 6.
6, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Chairman, can I comment on that?
Yes.
Preference for urban locations. I'm sure everybody will remember the reason why I wanted this looked at, or making a response anyway to ASHFORD. I thought it was important because if you cast your minds back, you will remember the situation where the Turner family, halfway between Woodchurch and Tenterden at Cobtree Meadow, were hoping to be able to make a location for travellers. That matter has been decided by the authorities, and eventually it went to appeal. The appeal went against the applicant, and so it started all again with his daughter. So I think that when you say preference for urban areas location, there will be some sites which are obviously going to spring up in the countryside. I think we've got to accept that. But I understand what the clerk is saying. The preference is for urban, but there will undoubtedly be others that are more non-urban.
Okay.
Question 7, evenly spread?
Yes. Happy? Everybody?
8, no?
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
We've lost that. No? Happy with that? Question 9.
Yeah.
We haven't answered. Phil? No, don't need to. Not applicable.
No, I think it related to a previous question,
Yeah,
which we
okay.
left.
Would you just, on your copy, just put something like that? Question 10.
I thought that was an excellent answer, Chairman. Excellent answer. No experience on this. Well done, our clerk.
Question 11. Happy?
I'm just wondering, Chairman, whether there is any possible sites along the Kingsnorth Road out of Ashford. To me, that might seem to be something that could be looked at. There's a large tract of land, isn't there, even before Kingsnorth on the left-hand side. It's no good just picking ground that is either flooded or is likely to flood or whatever. It's really finding places that could be used on a temporary basis if necessary. I travel down the Kingsnorth Road quite a bit to get to Ashford, and it would seem that there might be some possibility of looking at the Kingsnorth Road. It's well served by Tesco's anyway. Question 13.
Do members wish us to put that comment on 12 that Henry's saying?
It's not our area to start putting that down.
Well, the question was, do you think Ashford should have a transit site? Not, should Tenterden have a transit site? That was the question. I think a transit site is more safe than anything. Far better to have it more visible than concealed away, isn't it?
I know that Ashford transit sites are very, very difficult to actually locate.
They always are.
Yeah. Do we wish to put Henry's comments, please? Yes? Yes? Can we do that, please? Yep.
Yes, if can pinpoint whereabouts he means. Okay.
Beyond Kingsnorth rather than before Kingsnorth from the Ashford Centre.
You could actually put, have you considered that, as we believe it could be an idea? I know it's a very difficult one. I've been involved in a couple of inquiries there. It's dodgy. 13. Happy? Good. 14. Okay.
And finally, Chairman, I just wonder whether or not Ashford are looking for relief from Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which guarantees the freedom from state interference in private lives. Now, too much emphasis is put on the travellers' rights. Glastonbury, for example, has such a camp which has now reached 10 years in its being and has now become a permissive travellers' site, even though they are consistently rejecting offers to be rehoused by the council. Eviction notices are appealed and overturned in county courts, citing Article 8, even when the council can show it has land, or even if the council says where they are is unsuitable or contaminated, it's still Article 8. Perhaps that may end when the EU is no longer controlling human rights. I don't know. But it does seem as though, doesn't it, that the Borough Council has got two hands tied behind its back by the Human Rights Act. I just add that as being... yeah. Do you agree these objectives?
Yes.
The objectives are to get rid of the Human Rights Act, isn't it?
Okay. So, can I just thank the Town Clerk for doing all that work for us?
Yes. And
thank you, Phil.
And can I also say thank you to him too?
Okay. Thank you very much. So we have a vote of thanks for Phil.
You do.
Thank you very much. Good.
Thank you, Phil.
I see the public are getting a bit tired at the moment, so are we actually, but never mind. Item 10 subcommittee, there are no reports there.
Could we have a date fixed for the meeting of the Strategic Planning Subcommittee?
Right. Would you like to suggest a date, or we?
No, I think it's for the office to suggest
Yes.
a date, but if they could just put
Can
it
you
on
do
there.
that for us, Phil? Okay. Right, item 11 is something that Councillor Curteis and myself actually brought to the notice of the clerk, and I think it's something that all the parishes wrote to the minister, and you can see the reply, which I think was a bit. Calca not entirely happy with the reply, and I think more work is actually going to be done on it. Okay.
But it would be worth reminding councillors that if they want to comment on the proposed changes to the NPPF, they've got until the 10th of May.
Yeah. Okay. Can we notify that one? Okay. Thank you very much. Any other business? The only thing that I think that I would... Yes, right.
Yes, this missed the agenda, but I'd like to comment on the planning appeal decision for the land to the west of Appledore Road and North Shopton.
He's done it for us, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Given that that's in my ward.
That's right. We were going to put it on the agenda, but off you go.
Well, once again, I'd like to express my profound disappointment in the way the Planning Inspectorate has dealt with this. Lots of very powerful arguments were raised to object to this scheme, albeit that it is a revised scheme with less housing. It would seem that all these objections have been simply ignored, and it would seem from the extrapolation of this decision that any bit of grass that happens to be next to a road is fair game for development. And the serious concern, of course, is that once you start to develop some of the estate in question, the rest of it may well fall like a domino. And as you may know, and the public may know, that 70% of appeals to the Planning Inspectorate succeed. And I've been on the sharp end of appeals where at the planning application stage the developer makes virtually no attempt whatsoever to argue the case. They simply go straight to an appeal once it is rejected. And I am extremely concerned about the future of greenfield sites, and this is one that most reasonable people will consider to be the ultimate greenfield site. It's part of a historic estate, and I am extremely disappointed by this decision, which of course cannot be appealed.
Yep. I think that I thank you for mentioning it, Councillor. It was going to be brought up tonight, and I'm sure that many of us would concur with what you are saying. Also, I'd like to make a comment. There's been a lot of talk regarding the local doctor's surgery. Yes, there are still talks going on, but there has been no planning application at the moment. And I think that's really... You've got your hand up. Yes? You certainly can. But there has been an expectation that we're all moving to a new surgery almost immediately, but that is not right. Karen?
So, I was with Ivorcourt Surgery at pre-planning this past week. The NHS Clinical Commissioning Group has now signed off the funding. They are aiming to go into planning very shortly. They'll be breaking earth before the end of this year, with an expected date of open for business of March 2020. And this was in line with the original plan. Unfortunately, with the strategic transformational plan that the NHS was doing, it slowed down the funding for it.
Yeah. So, what we're saying is there is no planning application at this time.
It's gone through draft planning. The planning are happy with it. it has just one or two small tweaks to be done, and it's going into planning.
Yeah.
But with the benefit of having worked very closely with ASHFORD planning team over the last 6-7 months to get it right.
I think if we got this dialogue, I might tell you that we had, members of this council, had a meeting with the doctors. Must be nearly 2 years ago. At that time, they had certain views. And I asked the question, have you spoken to ASHFORD? And the answer was no. So it's taken them a long time to come to the conclusion that they should speak to ASHFORD. What is so frustrating is, you know, and Councillor Clokey will know, that you can have aspirations of what you wish to build, but if it doesn't conform to planning guidelines, you're not going to get it built. My question is, why the heck has it taken so long to start talking to ASHFORD? But never mind, conversation closed. If we can notice. Yes.
Can I just ask a quick question to Councillor? And that is, has the funding actually been secured now they're going through pre-app?
Myself and Councillor Isworth went to the update on the Strategic Transformational Plan as part of the overview and scrutiny meeting with ASHFORD last week, and that's where the Clinical Commissioning Group SDP team reiterated the financing was now in place for it. And it has only just been in place because 2 days earlier, when I was with Ivy Court, they said that they were just waiting. They'd been told it was there, but they were just waiting for it to be signed off. So in those 2 days, it got signed off.
Oh, excellent news, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Anything else? Right, it's been a long meeting, but thank you.
Right, are you ready to go? Give me a nod. You're ready to go. Good evening, welcome to the meeting External Committee on the 3rd of April tonight. We'll try and crack through this one if we could. Can we have apologies for absence, please?
Councillor Crawford.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest on this?
Item 10, I'm going to speak and then I'm going to leave the room.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others? None? Okay, the minutes of the meeting of the 19th February, correct record? All happy with those? Thank you. Proposed by Councillor Ferguson, seconded by Councillor Isworth. We have some... There's no matters arising from those, is there? No, good. We have some representations from members of the public on item 7E, 8, 9 and 15. So with the External Committee's permission, we'll pull those forward. So we'll go up to number 7 and then we'll go 8, 9, 15 and then go on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 6 is going to come up naturally there anyway. So there's no other representations from member of the public? No. Any councillors' questions? Councillor Ferguson?
Just a very quick one that KCC has announced there's an extra £2 million to fix the potholes, and following up on a recent discussion we had about Recreation Ground Road, if we can try and persuade somebody to do something about Recreation Ground Road. There are more potholes than there are smooth surfaces now, and it's dangerous now.
Well, both Recreation Ground Road and Highbury Lane are terrible, absolutely terrible. We ought to get some photos and send them to KCC and ask them to make those roads safe as soon as possible.
I have lots of photos here of Recreation Ground Road.
I have lots of photos of Highbury Lane.
Well, we had lots of photos to send to KCC then, won't we?
Goody.
I've got photos.
Councillor Mulholland.
Yes, I was going to say I've also got lots of photos with potholes with deep sea divers wearing their gear. It's that bad.
Okay.
That's not what I want to speak about. I wanted to just mention on behalf of myself, and I hope I speak for most of the, the entire Town Council, about the terrific result that Kestrel Gymnastics achieved last weekend when they went to the South East regional competition. 19 students, athletes, went up there. They came back with 10 passes and 6 commendations. And I think they are a terrific asset to Tenterden, and we should be very, very proud of this facility. They are struggling, as you know, to find a permanent home. They're operating from facilities at the moment without a sprung floor, where they can't do enough training, not do the training that they would actually like in order to go further. And I think, although they are a commercial venture, they bring such good social value to this town and our young folk that this council should support them as much as we possibly can. So I think we should thank them for their results.
I think it's a terrific achievement for them, and well done to Kestrel Gymnastics. Great effort. No other questions. Okay. We'll move on to subcommittee and working groups. The Mayfair, there's a report of a meeting held on the 21st of March. Do you want to quickly update us on that, Councillor Hickmott?
Yes, Councillors, are there any items that you wish to mention on the minutes that we've provided? We're doing quite well at the moment. We have an average of about 35 stalls, and 27 of those have been taken. We're on schedule for the Seagardets band and falconry and so forth. What we would like to see is more crafts and old vehicles. If anybody knows of anybody who could bring along an old vehicle or tractor or so forth, I'd be pleased to hear from them. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. The next one's the donation subcommittee. There's no recent meetings from that group. Okay,
No meetings, no.
The sports review, there's a meeting must be arranged. We keep asking for this one. We must get this one arranged because hopefully there's some very good news from Homewood School and the 3G. So there's some very interesting stuff there. So we need to get a meeting fixed up ASAP, really. Then we move on to the cinema focus group. There was a meeting held on the 22nd of February 2018, and a report and recommendations is attached here for councillors. I hope we've all read that. I think it's an excellent report, prepared very, very well. Do we have any questions from councillors on this one? None, so. Sorry, I wasn't looking that way. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you just remind me, this is the stage 2, the site options appraisal, is looking at the sites which have been put forward?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Or suggested, should I say?
Yes.
And how many sites are there in that suggestion?
There's 4 sites.
4 sites.
4.
Which are?
There's 4 sites. There was the what is the white stuff at the present time. There's the Tenterden Club. There's a site at the end of Church Road. There's a site behind the town hall here, and there's an additional site of the recreation ground if there were to be a linkage with the Tenterden Leisure Centre Trust. That's actually 5
sites,
now.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what the architects will be looking at with the quantity surveyors and the independent cinema consultant. Okay. I mean, the case puts forward a very good business case for this recommendation. I think it's mentioned now, and perhaps one of the group will just confirm that the Keno have shown an interest in that. It's shown there as item 8 on that the Keno are interested in coming on board, and other operators may well be out there interested as well, coming onto it. Councillor Lovelidge.
Will this next report show us how the money is going to be generated? how are we going to get the money to do all the works that are needed?
Well, I think this report actually shows you how how that will come forward. I mean, it gives you a summary at the end of the viability analysis.
But where's the money going to come from? Will the next report show us where the money's going to
this report
start coming from?
Fundamentally shows you that basically a mortgage will be taken out over 15 years,
Who will
and the
do
cinema
that?
group will then repay that money. However, the cinema group, I presume this is what the cinema group are thinking. Perhaps Chris, would you like to comment on this?
I saw a CIC. I just wondered if the next report is going to go into how the money is going to be got, basically, where you're going to get the money from. I can see the case for, like, the business case for, like, actually having a return, but it's the outlay at the beginning. So will this next report go into that?
Would you like to come up and make a little statement? Are you going to make a statement? Sorry, it's just coming up. Would you guys mind moving around one just there so we can move that microphone there or put it on a table or something? Yeah, that'd be easiest. All right, go on. If you could just switch on the microphone and just introduce yourself.
I'm Chris Head, I'm a member of the focus group. I think the answer to your question is that we would expect it to go a lot further along that road, but it's certainly not going to have all of the answers because it's a very complex matter. We've got to look at the structure of the company that's going to hold and operate the cinema. They're going to be responsible ultimately for raising the money. We've suggested in our note that they're probably a community interest company would be the best format, but it needs again to be explored further. And of course there are various avenues for raising money, both through public and private sources. But in the end, as the chairman says, it's essentially a mortgage-type repayment that we're talking of. And we've suggested 15 years, which is fairly typical in these circumstances. And the analysis that we've done based upon the figures provided by Craig Mount Consulting on the indicative number of visits and the revenue attained from each visit suggests to us that we would be able to pay for a cinema of the type that you find in Rye or elsewhere. You know, that we know we're in the right ballpark. But until we've got more definitive cost estimates, we can't go any further.
That's great. Thank you very much. That's a good summary. Thank you for all the work you've done to that package there. That's brilliant. Thank you. Any further questions on this one? No, I mean...
Sorry, you've given 5 sites, but I didn't think the club was suitable.
We're going around all 5 sites, and then it's not for the working group to the focus group to decide what site's suitable. That's for the architect and the quantity surveyor.
That's what worries me somewhat. It seems to be quite flimsy, really. If there was a specific site or sites, I think I would be a bit more supportive of it. There's lots of probables, and I wonder why the private sector will not spend any money on it.
So, Councillor Nelson.
Sorry, my understanding is that the next stage of the viability study will identify the best site if there is a site that's viable, and also identify a ballpark figure for the likely costs of creating a cinema there. Then the working group, the focus group, can turn their minds to how to raise those costs and the costs of running the cinema. But if there's no eligible site, the whole thing crashes anyway.
£9,000 is quite a lot as money, isn't it, to
But I'd have thought
gamble?
it's well worth spending £9,000 to find out whether the project is viable, because if it is viable, it'd be great. If it's not viable, let's not waste people's time and money investigating something when we're told it's not viable. I reckon it'd be money well spent.
I think this what... Oh, go on, sorry, I haven't...
I really would like, looking at the 5 sites and discussing with some members of the focus group, I really would like there to be some more suitable sites, potentially, and them to be investigated. Much as, Councillor Smith has said, maybe the club isn't the best place to be looked at. However, there is demand, you can see that in this room, for us to investigate this cinema. I've spent a considerable amount of time looking at the Acorn data, looking at the Mosaic data for Kent, and I certainly would like any next stage, if it goes forward, to really bring more of an evidence base on, it's very easy to say, well, we project X amount of people are going to, visit that venue. However, based upon, work that I do in my private job, looking at socio-demographic trends within, council projects, I think there's a chunk more work that needs to be done, and hopefully, if this goes forward, it will be done in that stage to bottom out the business case.
Well, if you've got some, if you list those inquiries that you would like made of the focus group, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to look at them and then put them through to these group of consultants who are all specialists in the cinema field. So, yeah, by all means, put those in writing to the focus group, and they can realise what you're saying and then take it on board and actually issue that.
Yeah, but also I still, looking, having spent the afternoon walking around with the group looking at those, I really wish there was somewhere more suitable, or, we have this late dark runner, the bolt-on to the leisure centre. If that was, a viable piece, I would certainly be happier with this.
Well, that's certainly, I think I wasn't at the last focus group meeting, but was that part of the analysis of the 5 sites, one of the 5 sites? It would certainly be taken on board. I certainly know they've talked to the previous chair of the Leisure Centre Trust about incorporating it within that. So, oh, right, jolly good. Well, it's a run of them. Jolly good. I personally think this scheme will actually enliven the town and be an early evening investment for the town in bringing this town up to current day standards. I don't know what... if anyone wants to in the group, or anyone from the general public wants to say anything, please do so, because it's such an important decision we're making here tonight. I think just say what you want to say.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I want to say something.
Sorry.
I agree with Councillor Smith that 9,000 is a lot of money. Keno are not interested, and maybe 1 or 2 other companies. Can we not come to some agreement with them to split the cost or contribute towards it in some way, or if not contribute it to it totally? After all, it's a business venture at the end of the day that they will benefit from. So that would really...
I'm not going to answer this. I'm going to let these guys at the back answer it.
Yeah, but that will really flash out if there is a real interest.
Yeah. Come up and sit in front of the microphone there. And
hello, I'm Tom Evans. I'm a member of the focus group. And the issue of Keno as a potential operator and investor was certainly something that we were very concerned about and interested in. It was originally suggested at the start of, before the consultants started their analysis, that Keno would not be interested in investing because of their current policy of expansion by purchasing existing cinemas. However, the consultant then talked to them in detail and confirmed that they would be interested in investing in setting up a cinema, and that they would do this, as they did in Rye, by paying for the fitting out, not of the conversion of a building, of the structural conversion, but in its entire fitting. And that, in the case of Rye, was £500,000 of a scheme whose total cost was 1.6 million. And we asked for further clarification of this to the consultant, who confirmed it in writing in an email about his discussions, and that this was a likely intention, if obviously predicated on there being a suitable site and conversion for them to fit. Does that answer your question?
Yes, in part. I mean, obviously, what you're saying is that if a suitable site is identified, that they're going to spend a lot of money fitting it out, far beyond the £9,000. But the £9,000 is obviously an expense by this council to provide them with such a building. It may well be that we don't identify a suitable site at all. That's all I'm saying.
If one puts it round the other way, one can say, again, as Councillor Carter said, without the 9,000 expenditure, you can be absolutely certain there will be no development, there will be no site identified, and no substantial investment from Keno or from any other private source.
Stay there for a second. Oh, Alan, you can... Yeah, come... You've got to talk to this microphone, I'm afraid, so people can listen to this later on.
I'm Alan Bates from Sixfields Path, and I'm chairman of the Residents Association. We feel very strongly that the cinema will be a huge benefit to the town. We have a town here which is very, very quiet in the evenings. It doesn't really have very much entertainment other than restaurants and drinking. And I think a better quality of entertainment would give you more footfall on the high street. It would give you probably less vandalism, because more footfall means there are more people seeing what's going on. I think there are huge benefits to come from lots of other businesses, the restaurants. I know if I go out to the Keno in Rye or Hawkhurst, I mostly have a meal, and it's not here. I'll go and have a meal down in Rye, because I don't have the facility here. I think lots of businesses in this town will benefit enormously from having some decent entertainment. But I think it's an opportunity for investment that you've got here. It's not a subsidy we're talking about. I believe that some of the sites TTC are the owners of, either of the whole site, if it was a recreation ground, or part of the site if it's out the back here. If you send a message now that you're not interested in putting up the £9,000, you're telling every developer, go away. We're not interested, because we're not actually going to put ourselves out in any way to assist you, to encourage you. And I think that's the wrong message. I think £9,000 is not expensive. I think that's actually very cheap, because consultancy time doesn't come for nothing. And if you don't pay for a consultant who knows something about cinemas, you get the answers that you got from the Lipton Group, whose business was building skate parks, and who just wrote a load of rubbish about the cinema. So let's have a proper report, have it properly done, with somebody who knows what they're doing. Thank you.
Councillor Lovelidge.
No, I have 3 points. I think the first one is the cinema focus group has come so far. I think you need to explore the possibilities. So I don't actually have a vote over here, but I would support the second stage. In the report, I would, along with all the success stories, I'd like to see what happened to Folkestone. I know the town hall had to bail out the Keno, or I think the Keno was first to go in, and they had to be bailed out a couple of times at least. And I think it's important to look at things that didn't go right. And thirdly, I'm also a trustee of the Leisure Centre. It is a potential site, so I encourage the Cinema Focus Group and your consultants to come and speak to the trustees, please. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor.
Well, I'd like to echo everything that Alan Bates said. I think given the fact that the cinema was far and away the most popular development in the public survey, that we absolutely need to explore every possible avenue to see if this is possible. And I entirely agree with him that I don't think that is actually a lot of money for the sort of work that hopefully will lead to the establishment of a cinema. And without it, this can't go any further. So I would very much support that.
Ewan, are there any more questions from the public or any comments that anyone would like to make? Now's your opportunity to have your say. Oh, one question.
In terms of the recreation centre, all of the work that we've received from the consultant suggests that people come to a cinema, a boutique cinema for the experience, and that's the atmosphere. You know, something I suggest different from the sports centre. I cannot see it working within the sports centre.
Okay, well, there's a group of consultants going down who will hopefully be in a position to tell us that. But okay, can I take yours as a proposal then, Councillor Isworth, to take forward the spending of these monies? Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Gooch, second that. Are we all in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Well done. If you would like to leave now, go and have a celebratory drink, please feel free to do so. I'm not going to make you stay and listen to the rest of it. I'll just have a minute while you leave. Sorry?
I just wonder if there's going to be an impact on all that sort of complex economy in Ashford.
It's all in the figures.
Isn't it?
Yeah. But there's 100,000 people in Ashford, Harry. There's not that much cinema. Right. Okay. Now we continue. Item F, Christmas lights. No recent meetings, so no updates on that one. Tourism and business. Next meeting to be agreed following files of the tourism destination plan. So that's to go ahead. The War Memorial, a Porter meeting held the 6th of March 2018. Do you want to give a brief one on that, Town Clerk?
I think following the RBL meeting very recently, there seems to be agreement on the central point, which is the relocation and rededication of the bricks, and we hope to accomplish that by Armed Forces Day at the end of June.
Thank you very much. The Community Transport Scheme, a report of a meeting held on the 14th of March 2018.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, my apologies.
You're a bad
yes,
boy.
No, I'm not. We haven't met. We're meeting tomorrow morning, in fact. But I'd just like to say that the surveys have been completed, have been analysed to a point by ASHFORD volunteers, passed back to the social hub, which has enabled them to complete the application for KCC community bus. Don't have all the details as such, except that the online survey, we received 30 responses, street survey 37, parishes we had none, and others 22. So that's been analysed and sent to KCC, and that will form the basis of hopefully further community buses and provide evidence that there is a need. After tomorrow morning I will know more.
Great, thank you very much for that update. If we move on to number 15 then, the Priory Way. No, I'm going to move 15 then go 8, 9, 10. So we'll move on to number 15, the Priory Way play area, and I think we've got Amanda Scott here to give us a little resume.
Just got some plans to give out so that people can see what we're going to be doing. I think that's about 5 there. Oh, that's oh. I'll get in trouble.
Pass it to the public, or pass it to sorry. Don't worry, Amanda, you get going. You get talking. Make Callum work for his living.
Thank you. So I'm Amanda, and I work for the Cultural Services team at Ashford Borough Council, and I'm currently working on behalf of the housing team, so I'm acting as their project manager on this scheme. So they look after and manage this play area. So there's some pictures there for you. You can see currently the play area is quite tired. I'm sure some people from the town can tell me how old the equipment is, but it is certainly of an age. And what's really interesting is actually this site is very well used. There's a lot of local children who actually play here, and it's actually very busy, certainly after school and certainly when it's dry weather. So actually it's worth a little bit of investment and time, I think, to upgrade the facilities and make it into a much more suitable provision for local children in that immediate area, because certainly I think they will benefit from work being done there. So I spoke with the children there, consulted with them on the types of things they like to do. The site's quite compact, it's quite limited, so there's not that much we can do. But certainly, as I normally find as well, is that swinging and climbing are the top two things that kids like to do. So the proposal is to have swings. So the picture there doesn't quite accurately show what we have. We're going to have one toddler seat, one flat seat, and then the basket swing. So that will be that unit, and that will sit on the what we call the wet pour area that's at the front of the site. And we're also looking to replace the surfacing as well with new surfacing. So that will be a far better provision than what's currently there, which quite frankly has had its day. And then we're looking at this multi-use play item with the slides, only I'm going to change that for a steel slides and have all steel posts into the ground rather than wooden, so it will last a lot longer. So the total amount of the scheme is around £18,500. So that's all the removals, all the new surfacing. And we're going to have grass mats as well underneath the slide unit. So that's really the sum total of the works. And it was a discussion I was having with Phil around how we're going to fund this work, because when the housing department came to me to propose works and do some upgrades, they had £10,000 available to them, and it was really around whether the town council would be minded to put something towards these works. And I think I can find some other monies as well from some revenue pots through our maintenance provision, but it's whether or not the town council would be minded to help in this instance.
So you're actually looking at 18 grand's worth of cost, £10,000 to be met by the housing group,
yeah,
and then 4,000 and 4,000 from Tenterden and ASHFORD councils.
Yeah, potentially. I think that there's the means to be able to do that. So.
Okay, sorry. Councillor Knowles, go on.
Thank you very much for coming across tonight, all the way, to come and see us. I've got a few problems with this site. On its own, I would normally be very, very happy to see this being refurbished. I live a couple hundred yards away. I know this site very, very well. Yes, I do. Straight across the road, you're going to have the entrance to a brand new estate with quite heavy traffic coming in and out of it. 100 units, and it's the only entrance in there. And the times when the children will be playing on it is the times at peak traffic for that area. And if you've spent any time at all in this area, you will know the children just run right across the roads from the new. If you look from where the new houses have just been built, they play football on the green here. They play football on the car park at this moment in time. They play football on the area that's just about to be built on Priory Way. So it's a very, very you get a lot of child footfall. I did suggest to the developers of Priory Way to have a chat with the council about moving this playground into the new development.
So that must have been a couple of years ago?
No, a couple of months ago. I sat, because I'm the borough councillor for this ward, I was requested by the developers to go and consult with them. So I went and had a chat, and I asked them to look at working with ABC to move this playground across the road into the new development in the green space there, for two reasons. One, to take the children away from the traffic, and the second reason was to improve social cohesion between the existing development and the new development.
And what was the outcome of those discussions? What was
The consultants were very warm to the idea, but having seen the new draft outline plan, I can't see a playground on that. So, I will be raising it, that I'm not happy with their application to go forward as it is without this going into it. I also would like to see, with 100 houses being built there, a Section 106 contribution from them, because I believe when this initially came towards the town council, it was a case of that ASHFORD council wanted to, in effect, borrow the money from the town council and then square it away with the Section 106 contribution from the Priory Way.
That's news to me.
Yeah. No. However, this is why I was quite, basically, I thought that's what the ask was on this one. But no, in essence, my I think it's that is tired. It is really horrible. It would be much, much better to, in my opinion, to be beautified, have a few benches and somewhere where mothers can sit with their toddlers there, and this a new playground go into the new development. I do not want to be sat in my garden or walking down the road with my dogs to hear that ambulance going down to watch them picking a child off that road.
Sorry, certainly I'm happy to be involved in that. That's absolutely fine in terms of looking at provision and having consultation as well with the local community there. That's
Just one session to Sue there.
Yeah.
Do you have a question or not?
Yes.
Yep, right, good.
This was in the Kentish Express very recently. It's the play area in Newtown and Bullied Place, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, in Ashford, which was appears to have been paid for with 106 money. And Councillor Mike Bennett, who's the holder for culture, we are committed to providing high quality facilities for our communities. I just hope that some of that 106 money can be spent here in Tenterden for not obviously a large play area like that, but
Can I put a suggestion forward then that we approve our £4,000 going forward. We don't like doing it. We feel that it should come from the developer and the housing trust as they're the right people to do it. Let's get talking with those developers. Let's get that money from those developers to do it and do a scheme that's right for those children for the next 50 years, not just a bodge for a few years just to get them playing again. Let's get it really working quickly and make the developers really pay for it and do it very, very quickly. Just otherwise you can slow them down. Can we leave it like that?
Could I clarify which site we're referring to? So are we saying that it should still be within the new development?
As I raised at the last external meeting that this was raised at, I really would like to see this move across the road. You have, in essence, a major thoroughfare within 20-30 yards of a children's play park, and it just greatly concerns me. And it doesn't just greatly concern me, it concerns most of the people around here with children.
Okay.
If you ask them about that, because they're not very happy about the development in the
Well,
first
let's leave it as a Priory Way development play ground, and then we can leave it as that, and then we can bring it back to this committee just to nod it through if we have to put the 4,000 in that we don't really want to. Is that okay?
Well, and there might well be some more S106 discussions to have anyway around that development. I think that the only problem with then the developer providing the site is we have less control over what they actually then put in, and my experience is you tend to get a lesser provision than if we're able to essentially do the work ourselves. So that's the only...
We'll take this 106 as
Yeah,
a donation of that land to...
Yeah, I mean...
wouldn't this be covered by the Section 9 agreement under the Local Spaces Act, which forms part of the Section 106 agreement?
Yeah, it's just my experience that working with developers in the past that so we put forward an amount that we say is suitable for a play site. It's very rare we can then get them to actually spend the amount of money that we've actually said is suitable for that area based on the number of dwellings. That's quite common.
If you look at the Priory Way site, it was a site that Ashford Borough Council lost on appeal, and the draft 106 has already been agreed.
Yeah, it should have been already agreed.
And in the last time that the Section 106 officer gave us a breakdown of the 106, I believe there was £70,000 of monies in there for activities like this. It was not defined because it was a draft Section 106 agreement.
So that means it hasn't been allocated to any particular site yet?
I believe when the 106 officer sent us that, it was £70,000 for public spaces, brackets, Abbott's Way, question mark.
I think it's something you should just, you guys, to sort out now. You've got the approval to it, just go and sort it out and hopefully get it done, really. And when we contribute all this money and you build on the old play park, perhaps we'll have our share out of that as well. Thank you very much. Are you happy with that solution? Are you happy, Town Clerk, with it? Good. Are we all in favour? We haven't taken a vote on it, mind, but you're proposing it then, Callum. I'll second it. All in favour? Thank you very much. That's one done. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming along. So, item 8, the Tenterden Run. We've got a speaker on the Tenterden Run. You're doing it next time, yeah?
I'm going to do it, mate, yeah.
Come there, come and speak. Yeah, just talk it through. We're gonna. Unless they can do it. Start talking through the thing, and then Claire try and get it working while. You have to move around that way.
I refuse to move.
Do you?
Yeah, into my seat. I'm not going to move.
Well, I'll have to move the chair, then move you. You have that light in your eye, boy.
The lights come up, look. Get a go on the specs over it.
Primary School PTA, proposal for a 5-year funding contribution for an annual £5 read that. So hopefully you've got a copy of the financial details from the handouts, but in summary the request is going to be, these details are on there, funding to cover 50% of the cost of running the event on an annual basis at £2,299. Therefore, we're looking for an annual grant of £1,000. So some of that funding is also to cover costs of a PA system. That's going to be used for the Tenterden 5 and 10k event, which is in the 2nd year of running. That will also be systems used for another community event, which is the firework and music event. This year it was had a remembrance theme. It was attended by 700 people. Tenterden Run has a 5-year contract already agreed with sporting events. We had sponsorship for the medals and trophies also agreed for the next 5 years with Bruston Court, but we do require funding to be able to hold this as an annual event. Currently, it's the only organised run held in Tenterden at St Michael's. It was a great success last year. First event both as a sporting and social event. We had 245 runners, many more supporters. Well, it's quite unique in fact that it's mixing sports events with face-off, schools, family atmosphere. Introducing people to different types of events, so you've got people going to sporting events that wouldn't necessarily go for and vice versa. And also bringing new people into the area, creating new customers for local shops and businesses, in particular running clubs, fun runners company for the Curteis and other councils. Feedback was very positive from last year. Runners liked it, having stalls, food and fun events, and not just a running event. Brings together different communities, business groups, so there's a few different sponsors and runners that we have attended last year and will attend this year, and also trying to help us with sponsorship. We're also trying to build it into a healthy sports activity, so we're running a running club at St Michael's Primary School on Tuesdays after school drops for parents to get to the exercise coaching routine for Couch to 5K, additional coaching as we go forward. St Michael's is trying to work towards a school for games mark, and this will help us go towards the goal for success. The event is expected to be bigger than last year. We're expecting over 400 runners. Again, that's one just the runners, that doesn't include supporters, children, etc. So significant coming to the area, coming to the event. It's a community and social event, not just one. We've already done a lot of preparation with advertising, making use of Tenterden School Trust, which was relatively recently formed, combined with other schools to promote the event. Things like flyers going home with other primary school, obviously St Michael's, but with other significant primary schools in the area. Flyers, advertising, Tenterden Leisure Centre, park runs also in ASHFORD and surrounding areas, which are being hosted by sporting events. Posters distributed around the area, Tenterden clubs, schools, preschools, banners outside St Michael's, outside Homewood, outside recreation ground. Advertising pop-ups on multiple websites, including Facebook as sites as well. And we've also engaged the head of PE coaching at Homewood to ensure that we've got continuity and good successful. So the event's going to be based on an aerobic warm-up in the morning. We've got a fitness instructor, Cat, who also runs the Couch to 5K. Kids 1K run, which is around the school grounds, followed by the main event, which is the adults trying to take it for 10K run, which is run at the same time on a similar route, obviously the 10K continues on twice a day. There's going to be refreshment stalls, drinks, barbecues, traditional modern favourite stalls, so ice cream stalls, stalls, games including local shootouts, tombola, bar stalls, and even a possible bookstall. So, just to summarise that up, from last year, just to give you an idea of the kind of response we got back, and we had hundreds, but we had 50, 60 of these type of quotes back from people who attended the event. So, great event, well organised, beautiful scenery, hot, hilly and hard, but great course, friendly people. Personally, this was my favourite. Thanks for organising. Just got home and said to my wife, this was the best organised, best atmosphere and toughest run I've ever done. Hope to see you next year. Lovely atmosphere, well done. Great marshals, tough run. Brilliantly organised, great turnout, super support, amazing marshals, really enjoyed the work we put into it. Hopefully that's enough to give you an idea of the information to make a decision on our cost of funding. Any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Knowles.
Not a question, statement. I think it's brilliant. Get people, especially the youth, away from the television and their computers and out running, out and about. I totally support this.
Councillor Nelson.
Point of clarification, presumably the school acts as treasurer for the PTA. Thank you.
Councillor Mulholland.
Yes, I have to declare a little bit of interest because I was a marshal last year, and it was an excellent event, and I totally endorse what Councillor Knowles says. This is exactly the sort of thing that we should be supporting for our youth, to get them out of their bedrooms, away from their computers, etc., etc. And it's not just the youth, you know, there is professional athletics, people coming from the north of England, from all over the UK to take part in this event. Last year, I believe, was won by a guy from Manchester. And it is a great family day as well. And it makes a wee bit of money for the school, and it brings a lot of people into the town as well, helping the economy. So I do hope we support it, and I'm totally for it. Not quite sure. How much are you asking for? 1150.
Councillor Isworth.
I echo Councillor Knoll's comments, but I do have to declare an interest in that I'm the governor of the school, so I won't vote.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, we've got a runner.
Thank you very much, Chairman. On our green sheet here, the proposal is that this council should consider classifying this run as a town event.
Yeah.
Have we explained to these people what a town event is and agree the level of annual support?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask exactly the same question as town clerk. Does it go to the town events and then it has to go into the precept, or can we allocate the monies?
This is effectively revenue monies, so it can't be dealt with under a normal capital grant, so it's year on year. It's towards the running costs of the event, so it would need to be classified as a town event and therefore be included in our precept year on year.
So that would mean it isn't in this year's precept, but it could be included in next year's precept. Am I right in saying that?
It would be, if we met it this year, we would need to meet it from reserves, but in future years it could be precepted.
Or we could do the first year double the amount, and but okay. So how do we put this proposal forward then, town clerk? But
if councillors are happy to make it a town event, then it should be, the proposal should be that we include it in the precept and that we meet this year out of reserves, the 1150 claimed.
Okay. Are you happy to? Yeah, I'm happy to second it. Okay. Are we all in agreement on this one?
Sorry, and it's nothing to do with the award. I see that trophies and medals are to be presented, and it's all part of the cost. Is there the opportunity for a special Tenterden image or logo to be included in that medal, so that we are, if you like, promoting ourselves as a town? Just an aside, because I did read somewhere that Bretton Court were promoting your medals.
Bretton Court have signed up with us for the remainder of the 5 years that we're with them, which we do need their funding, because it allows us this year to be able to bespoke a medal for Tenterden. Now, a lot of runners who run many races collect their medals, and they like the fact it's a bespoke medal. Tenterden is a town that's quite quirky, and it's got enough character in it that can actually make a really good medal. This year, with Bretton Court's help, sporting events are dealing with Bretton Court, and they're trying to work on something that's around the character of the town. I think possibly it's the steam train this year, but they're just trying to sort of develop a medal that's quite unique. But each year will be a unique medal made. So the following year, yes, we can look at something. But I know that if we're using a town logo, we'd need to get confirmation of being able to use that logo. So we needed to push it forward this year.
No, I'm
to
not
get
necessarily promoting the logo, but just something to identify the. I think it's great that you've got the locomotive on it. That's fantastic.
That's going through
yeah, so well done, Bretton Court.
Good. Okay, well, I think that was a unanimous vote in favour. Yeah. Okay. Well done. Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Coming along. Thank you very much.
We do need accounts though.
But Phil will write and tell them
yeah.
that. Yeah.
We do have excellent accounts attached here in the green paper for this year, if you're ready.
Okay, we'll now move on to number 9, which is the mascot dog. Yeah, of course you can. Just sit there and...
Thank you very much for letting me talk to you just very briefly. I'm aware that there's some very fine minds around here, far finer than mine. So all I can say to you is the following. I know that the town clerk has discussed this proposal with you, and I think that de minimis, it's a very split, and maybe there's more against it than with it. I'm not going to try and turn the tide. I'm going to ask you to think about a couple of things with the result at the end. I hope de minimis, again, you will make the third decision of political science, which is no decision is a decision in itself. The reason I'm going to that point there, as opposed to a yes or a no, I don't expect a yes tonight, but I would prefer to hear some considered thought around no decision. I'm saying this here now because I've listened this evening to £9,000 being invested into a pre-feasibility study on a cinema. I'm sure that by the time that becomes a reality, the contracts and the corporate financiers and the lawyers and everyone that sets up operating contracts with investors, you're going to be well into 35, 50 grand, I'm sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. I hope it's a lot cheaper. That project will touch a certain number of people within Tenterden every day. When they go to sit in the cinema, you will have touched people with that initiative. The £9,000 to start that initiative off was called not a lot of money. And in the big picture, I agree. The average wage in the UK is, whatever it is, £26,000 a year. I therefore ask that we had a town event story just a minute ago, and it comes out of precepts, and I can't pretend to understand all of your funding issues and how it all works. All I think is that, first of all, it was not a town mascot. That was my mistake in my communications in calling it, I called it on the initial form a mass dog, as in a big dog, but a dog for the masses. When I spoke originally, you asked me to get testimonials, which I've done. I think the general intent of the testimonials that I provided to you, and some of the ones that you got from yourself, thanks to your town clerk, was that it's a good idea, but we haven't yet seen it. And it's a bit like putting the cart before the horse. But I get that. And the other thing I'd like to say, and then I'm finished, is that we also heard earlier today how the private sector doesn't want to do things and take risk and wants it pump-primed by public funds and so on and so forth. I think I can make this happen. My contribution that I would like to make to this town is that I can make it happen. I can also make it happen, I like to think, without the support of the town council. However, you've got people from the town are supporting it, and therefore I ask that you make no decision rather than decline this initiative and see how far I get on my own. And I will set up that kick, and it won't cost any money to you, and I will raise funds for it. And you will have a dog in this town that is trained, safe, insured, like you've never had before, and I don't think any other town's had before either. And if you want initiatives and you want innovation and you want things to come into this town, then I'm offering you something. And I hope that you'll consider it again at a later date when I've got further forwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President. Do you have any questions of our presenter, or?
Are you withdrawing the application?
No, but I understand that there is some people against it, and therefore if it went to a vote right now, it would get voted down. And I think that would be a shame for the town, that it were voted down at this stage. And I'm therefore proposing to pump prime it, bring it further forwards, and the town council makes a decision later on.
So what you're saying to us is you're going to come back when you've done £5,000 worth of work and apply it to us at the... I'm just saying those figures off, those ad-lib there.
I'd like to come back in a little while and prove the business concept of a community interest company, something that provides net benefits to the town that may be even measurable to bring more benefit and more happiness than a cinema that's going to cost you £5.
Right. There's a question there from Councillor Lovelidge first there.
No, I'm afraid I don't have a question. I think I do have to go on the proposal that we have. You're more than welcome to bring it back later to council, but I do have some very serious concerns about this. The first is the public liability to the council. I'm very concerned about, and the second is the two main ones is liability and cost. There's a lot of dogs out there, that pets as therapy dogs, that do this all for free. I know a very good dog trainer who would be very willing to do this for free with her dogs, and we have hypo hounds, so I feel very strongly that we support them, and I'm sure that Scooby or one of their other dogs that they're training will be more than happy to come to events. So I'm afraid that all the things that have been covered in the proposal by Mark have already covered in the town, and they are done it for free, and training is for free as well. If you have a dog, if you want to do a rescue dog, that's all for free. If you want to do a pets as therapy dog, that's all for free. So I would have to object to this one, I'm afraid.
Okay, thanks for the comments. Peter, did you have a comment? Did you put your hand up?
Yeah, I just wondered if
You have to come up and speak in that. Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, as I understand it, this isn't even to be discussed. Why are we spending time?
Okay. Thank you very much. Ken, you had a comment to make.
Yes, I wanted to just add my support to what Councillor Lovelidge said. We have adequate facilities within the town for all of the needs that there is for dogs of whatever nature, and I don't actually see the need to have this initiative at this moment in time.
All right. There's one question from the member of the public there. If you... Okay. Okay. One last question here.
I would like to propose on this occasion we decline the proposal, and if Mr. Harrison would like to bring it back in the future, please, would he do so? So I propose that we decline the proposal.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Knowles. Are you all in favour of that? All in favour of that?
No,
you will...
because you've already got hyper-house now going into the towns and the old people's homes.
If you want to change that decision, you can change it after 6 months. You have to wait 6 months, then come back again with another revised. Okay. Well, thank you for your time tonight. Okay. Thanks very much indeed. Okay. Move on to number 10, tributes in the park. To consider classifying this event. Councillor Curteis.
I'm going to speak and then I'm going to leave the room because
you don't need to leave the room, Jean.
Just don't vote, Jean. Just sit.
Just speak into your loudspeaker.
Last year we did this for the very first time, and much to our surprise, it was a lot more successful than we thought it would be. And we've been asked to do it again and to make it an annual. And to make it an annual event. To this end, we obviously need funding. It costs, this year's event, we've costed out, and it will most probably be somewhere around £9,000 to put this on. It's intended as a family event for local people. There is no charge, so we've got to raise the funds, and everything we use on the park is local. So I'm hoping that you will look favourably upon helping us.
Okay. I mean, I think it'd be drawn in by the same comments that we've made to the running group. But what do councillors think on this one?
Absolutely brilliant event. I went last year and it was super, extremely well organised, and I have every expectation that this year will be as popular, if not more, than last year.
Councillor Knowles?
Unfortunately, I was aware that day. I do believe from everybody that told me about it, it was a really good event. From last year, how much did you raise in donations and grants from outside bodies for this?
In the speaker, Jean.
Sorry. I haven't got my paperwork here, but I can produce it. I think we got something like about £3,500 to £4,000. Obviously, we were new to it and we had to stop and think what we were doing. We didn't know where to go to begin with, who to ask, but we got an awful lot of help from ASHFORD Borough at the time. And this year it was a lot easier to look around. We also did a bucket collection on the field on the day, which helped us. And we did come out of it without egg on our face. Yeah. And I think everybody had a good evening, but I can produce the figures for last year if you need them.
Is that what you're asking for? A verification of the figures, and then it would be run as an annual town event?
Yeah,
is that what you're suggesting?
Literally, it was just to get a sort of a bit of a grasp on how it was done last year. And, yeah, I think it's an excellent idea. And it's just ensuring that it does wash its face, and it's just to get a grasp on what happened last year.
So subject to due diligence, and bang, bring the figures back next month, and then we'll go.
Yeah, sorry, I've got some detail here. The group did publish, the Treasurer published a report at the AGM, so I can help.
I think you've got to get the figures from them. They could be.
Yes, but this is in the public domain. But
we did it last year, didn't we? So.
Yeah, let's let Jean bring those figures
yeah,
back
I
to the next
think
meeting.
Before we make a decision, we should look at the accounts that need to be signed by the Treasurer and hopefully someone else within the group.
That's what I said. In principle, we're in favour, but they've just got to be subject to some due diligence of their figures.
The bottom line was £427 profit. Donations from ABC, 2,500.
And that's right. Let's
Jean,
bring them next time. Okay.
Bring them back. We need hard facts.
We agree in principle, then,
yes,
and subject to their accounting.
Right. That's a proposal. That's a seconder.
agree in principle as well to make it a town event.
Yeah, that's what we've got.
And yes.
Okay. Subject to their.
So
may I say something, Mr. Chairman? It's another issue actually, and it may or may not be pertinent, and that is the issue of Tentertainment. I'm wondering how we dealt with them in the early days in terms of supporting them. Did we give them an annual grant? Did we do some form of underwriting? Because what you don't want is egg on your face in this respect.
Right. Be very interesting because it all went through the Tenterden Improve project to start off with for the first 3 or 4 years, and then it transferred to the town council, and then I think it was taken on probably year 7 or 8 as a probably earlier than that actually.
Yeah.
But we've got those figures in
because
front
I can see some negative PR if we're not careful. If we immediately make something a town event or agree to a long-term commitment.
It was a town event. Entertainment was in the precept.
At a point in time. But was it in the precept 1 year after the first one?
It was in the precept last year as 2,500 entertainment.
Yes, but it had been running for years.
And previously to that, so they didn't have to keep coming back year on year. They still had to bring in their accounts, but it was an annual event. as is the folk festival.
Okay, so
let's cut this.
So what's the proposal? Sorry.
The proposal was that it's going to be a town event. In principle, we agreed to it subject to verification of the figures, the accounts being produced, and we would then look to support this event.
Yeah. Can I say that all town events do have to produce accounts, so there'd be no exception?
Is that externally audited accounts or just audited accounts?
Not in this case, no, because they're not required to externally audit.
But internally audited.
Yeah.
Not even that for an event of that size, I wouldn't imagine.
Okay. Bank statements.
Ken, that's enough.
Okay, I mean we're dealing with. Sorry.
No, that's enough, Ken.
We're dealing with public money here. Okay.
Yeah, and we're going to deal with it through the town.
That's
clerk.
what I'm saying.
We're going to be dealing with through the town clerk and his due diligence on that basis.
So can we have a vote then? It's proposed, seconded.
Do you need to add to the proposal about this year's funds?
And that's why I said the same as the running group.
So the precept
same
after
basis.
this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All those in favour? Bang. No, that's silly. Right, we're all in favour. Item number 11. Item number 11. Oh my God, we want to go home tonight. Come on, Sue, get on with it. Right, number 11. The wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will take place on the 19th of May. The subcommittee should be set up to consider celebratory events on a day. A suitable budget should be agreed. Okay. No, forget it, Sue. For goodness sake.
No one voted. There wasn't a vote taken.
There was a vote taken. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I didn't vote, so I'm just abstaining. Can you record that I've abstained?
Can we do that?
At the moment, thank you.
Okay, now.
System, you need to be clear who's voting and who's not voting.
Vote again.
Yes, please.
Pam's proposing, I'm seconding. All those in favour? Jean can't vote.
I'm abstaining on the basis that...
5 in favour and 1 abstaining.
Yes, on the basis, and I'd like to be recorded, that no proper accounts or accurate accounts have been produced.
I'd like to say one thing. They were
No,
quite satisfied for ASHFORD.
Right, item number 11. That a suitable committee should be set up to consider celebratory events on the day, and a suitable budget should be agreed. Callum.
Can I ask Councillor Edwards what's normally done for royal weddings, Henry?
Chairman, I think this is probably the first that I've been involved in. Probably the first that has fallen in my time, a royal wedding. Certainly I've had no experience of that. The millennium from 1996 to 2001, the QE2, the Queen Elizabeth 60, Queen Elizabeth 90 birthday, Twinning and Mayfair are other things I do. So to answer your question, I think this is a fairly new celebration for us, so I can't really say.
Could I make a comment?
Yeah, go on.
Whatever we choose to do, if anything, then we need to understand that the date, the Saturday the 19th of May, that weekend is a rather large event, 1940s celebration at the station on the Saturday and the Sunday. And also more relevant is perhaps the Tenterden Food and Drink Festival on the Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So we've already hired out the recreation ground. So we just need to consider that as for information purposes.
Okay.
Oh yes, the FA Cup as well.
I think it would be easier for the council to join in with other organisations and whatever else is going on in the town, the mayor, and rather than try to do something ourselves, because it's been very hard in the past with the Jubilee and things. We
Okay.
try to do street parties.
Peter.
And things.
Is that a proposal, Peter? We all come to your barbecue. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think the general thing is it's getting so close to the date. There's so much more going on in the town that we leave it. And don't worry, we spent a lot of money on everything else tonight. Let's leave this one. Is that a full agreement?
If anybody was
Raise a flag, yeah.
If
Well
anybody
done.
was particularly interested in doing something specific, then that's quite a good idea. Can we not ask the Food and Drink Festival people if we can raise a flag on the recreation ground on the Saturday the 19th? Might be rather a good idea.
Yep, okay. We'll ask them to do that. if you think.
Towards the registry office.
Okay, so we're leaving the royal wedding, but we're going to write to the events organisers and just do that. Okay. Policing in the town, number 12. You've all read this report, the proposal. So, you've been talking to people in Ashford, Callum, about this, and you've come up with some people to invite to this.
I believed we've discussed this many times, and we had the PCC over once, and I think if we are going to get the right people around the table, I talked to the Borough Commander at an overview and scrutiny meeting, and he was quite happy to come. The portfolio holder for health, well-being and antisocial behaviours, very happy to come. And, you know, let's get the right people around the table, people who control the manpower, and put our concerns on the table and see what can be done.
Okay. So, are you saying we await for those people to be appointed, or we bring them together, or we make a decision now to go ahead?
I'm sorry, I didn't put this paper forward. I was just asked who the relevant people were and made a suggestion.
Yeah. So I think the basis of this is here, but then we should just get the right people here to implement what's said in this report, do we
Need to
not?
form a subcommittee, don't we, first?
But until we've got the right people coming along, then it seems the hot cart before the horse.
John Crawford wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Aren't
sorry,
they coming to the council meeting on the 23rd?
They are coming. I don't know actually.
I believe so, aren't they? So
Yes, that was the little note I popped at the top of the at the top of John's proposal that that those the police, Councillor Brad Bradford, Trevor Ford, and Mike Hill have been invited to the town council. So hopefully they should attend on that date, and we can move
so if we
forward.
can find
at that
out
point.
who else wants to form this forum or whatever, and try and get a date agreed.
Going on from that town council meeting when we've met them all, or do it now?
Find out in advance, compare diaries, and then at the town council meeting you can actually speak to these other guys who are busy and try and fix the date for the first meeting of the forum.
Okay, happy with that? Happy with that, town clerk? Yep. Okay, we'll leave that as that then, if you're all happy. Thank you very much. Community litter pick, Sunday 13th of May. Noted, everyone? Okay, good. Friday market to denote no promotional trade toast today on Friday the 6th and consider reduced rates for new stores and incentivised growths. Agreed? So, proposed by Councillor Knowles, seconded by Councillor Isworth, and all in favour? Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Priorway plan done. Fire hydrants. So you've seen the report on the fire hydrants. Is it all in favour of that? Going forward with that?
It's a worthy thing and a very necessary thing to do, so yeah, you can't not support it.
Okay, so Councillor Mulholland, Councillor Knowles, all in favour? Yeah, great, thank you very much. Any correspondence? No. Minor matters? No. Any other business? No. Thank goodness.
Apologies for absence.
Councillor Crawford, Councillor Lusty, and very recently Councillors Gooch and Curteis.
Curteis. It's lost one out. Any declarations of interest? None? The minutes of the meeting that's held on the 12th of March. And any comments on the minutes? On page 1. Page 2. And can I have a proposer, please, for the minutes? Yeah, you are. Yeah, Councillor Ferguson, seconded by Councillor Isworth. All those in favour of the minutes? Thank you very much. Ooh, can't sign. Let's say small speed. Right. Any matters arising? None. Representation from members of the public? None. Councillors' questions? Councillor Ferguson?
Quick. This probably will be internal as well as external, but there's apparently been a sharp rise in defibrillator thefts throughout the county. All I want to say is that we need to make sure that our CCTV, the ones that we actually control, do point towards these to the defibs. And then it will be, I suppose, the external to make sure eventually that they point, those ones, CCTV, point towards the other ones.
Could I just say that since the defib cabinet was vandalised, we've decided to recite the defib very slightly so that it falls within the range of our CCTV on the wreck.
So in Kent, I mean, in 2000, last year there were apparently 16 thefts.
I think it's all the equipment.
What they're doing is
the
breaking it down
ambulances
for
too.
spare parts.
Yeah, they're going for ambulances as well, the defibs on there. So. Yeah. Okay, any more councillors' questions? Thank you. The next one is subcommittee and working group reports. The Town Hall Focus Group, were next meeting's taking place on Thursday. The Recreation Ground Focus Group, the third workshop session to be held on Tuesday the 17th of April.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Councillor Carter.
I'll bring up, thank you for the report from Ground Control of their costings. I'm sorry to say this, I don't know how you're going to report to this recreation group on the 16th, because if you take item 1 as their main core of costs at 6, the main core of costs in at 1.6 million, then you add to it number 2, which is the new kiosk and the bowls club at 400,000. Then you take in number 3, which is the costs, and then you take in number 4, which is a youth hub, which is omitted. You take in number 5, which is additional costs. You're up at £2,637,000. You take the muck away, if you have to take the muck away from the site, 150 I've worked out those figures for. And the cycle track we've got in a minute in those figures is 120, which you won't build anything for 120 unless it's really retrograde. And when you're spending that kind of money, it's got to be something good for the community. So that would add another further 380. That takes our costs in this one at £3,167,000. I don't know how you can explain this to the group at the particular point in time of how that all works. And the other thing is that if we build on the land that is now the hump for the leisure centre, as part of the agreement for that, the leisure centre will ask us for £500,000 towards their refurb, which they've inadvertently asked for in a letter to the council already. So I just don't understand how we get across to the public how we're going to do this recreation ground reordering when we've got that order of costs in there. How are we going to do this? And we're going to just upset our public massively if we just carry on with blinkered eyes. And I just don't know quite what you're going to do.
Okay, any more comments? Councillor Knowles?
I do applaud Councillor Carter's scrutiny of the figures. And again, it's much like the cinema piece. I think we need to do a bit extra work to bottom some of these numbers out. And, you know, there is some grants out there. What is available? But, you know, getting to the crux of it is, you know, hopefully coming out the back end of these meetings, we get some more concrete figures and timelines out of it, because it's something that really does need to be done.
Yeah. Okay. Any more comments, Councillor Nelson?
Presumably the focus group will be interrogating ground control over their figures and how it's all going to work out, because they did say it will come in within budget. From what Councillor Carter says, it doesn't.
I'm happy to go along and make these comments about these costings so they can actually realise what I'm coming from. And basically these figures have been taken from their figures that they've given to us.
Not my place to invite you to a meeting of the focus group. I'm not on it. Sorry, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It just seems a shame we're going to have to explain this all the way. I think if we worked more as a group, we could actually transfer some of the involvement within some of these groups out of that group. For instance, I believe we should be putting the Bowls Club on a new development somewhere else that takes all that costing out of it. That's one item. But then it goes on to a new development somewhere, wherever that be, whether it be Tent 1B, whether it be Lions, whether it be West Cross, I don't know. But we should be looking at those conclusions to get to it. I think, to be quite honest, we should actually wait for a lot of these conclusions, because the local plan for 2030 is going to be virtually known by the end of May when the report is done and how it's all going to fix. But for the sake of 6 weeks, I think we could save ourselves a lot of embarrassment and a lot of cost.
Chairman, we have to let the focus group work through this. They are aware of what budget was set, what we're working to, and they are aware that if we can't get works within that budget, certain works won't get done first time round. And really it's up to the members of the public on the focus group to work that out with ground control. The council is keeping out of it to a point until they've come to a final conclusion. And if it's going to come to the sums you said, obviously some things are going to have to be knocked off or adjusted. And really that's what they will be addressing. So let's let them get through that stage and then see what decisions they make.
Okay.
Obviously the land issue where we're building on, not in theory, it's not our land, could be very costly. We ought to inform ground control of that so they can take some informed advice on that. Otherwise they're thrashing around in the dark almost.
Sorry, you're talking about the mound?
The mound, yeah.
Right.
And the mound and the car park that goes on the
the
western end of the mound.
But the mound is leased to ASHFORD Borough Council.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be unduly difficult if we say we've got a good use for the land.
Yeah.
But they're going to be looking for a huge contribution for us added on to the 75,000 we've already given them. If we try and give them anything.
Well,
I may be totally.
I wouldn't assume that to be the case. Let's
Well,
see
no,
how the
We'll have
focus
to
group
see. I
works
think
it
it's
out.
still early days. Okay, I think we move on. So there's no recent meetings of the Public Engagement Subcommittee or the Standing Orders of Financial Regulations. The next item is a Town Hall hire Assembly Room to consider changes to the terms and conditions of hire and the pricing structure. We have the proposals set out for the room charges, security and additional safeguards. Does anybody have any comments?
Sorry, I propose.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Roy Isworth. All those in favour? Thank you. That's gone through. Next one is meet your councillor sessions, to consider these sessions on a bi-monthly basis and to invite outside organisations to attend. Councillor Isworth.
Can I propose that?
Okay. Do I have a
It would
seconder
be a
for
very
that?
useful way of local organisations having the opportunity to publicise what they do.
And I think it went very well, didn't it? We had more people than ever. So seconded by Councillor Nelson. All those in favour? Yes, thank you very much. Website issues. This is written by Councillor Nelson following an email from a member of the public, and that is just a note.
Yes, I apologise if it seemed I was sort of usurping the website subcommittee's function. I was just putting forward these ideas in response to comments made by a resident.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, yeah. No, I think it's with the email, it's a lot clearer what was going on. Thank you. The Recreation Ground Dog Show, to consider allowing free use of the recreation ground for this show, which is in aid of the Tenterden Social Hub. Do I have a proposer?
I was just going to say, I better declare an interest in that.
Yeah, that's good. Proposer, Councillor Hickmott.
I'll second on the basis they clear up the mess.
Okay, Councillor Nelson. All those in favour? Yes. Councillor Edwards, you in favour? You're abstaining, okay. Okay, thank you. Next one is the Mayor's Charity, to consider a correction for an accounting error. Does
I did
Councillor
ask
Smith?
to look at these accounts. I thought I'd go through it, but yeah, they're just a muddle and a minefield.
So, okay, so
Yeah,
the
so
proposal
I've
is
got no explanation for it, sorry.
that a correcting journal should be made to transfer the outstanding amount to donations or directly from reserves. Okay.
Yep.
Much better system now, so.
I propose that, and the clerk assures me that there is a better system. There are going to be different codes for different mayoral years.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Isworth, all those in favour? Thank you very much. The next one is Remembrance Sunday. Information on national events for the centenary. This is just information only item. Okay, and we have the brochure as well. Next one is safeguarding. To consider a council policy and staff training in respect of safeguarding. So the proposal is that all staff should undertake the necessary training, and the policy should be derived from the templates and published on our website. Councillor Nelson? You propose, yeah, very important this. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Isworth, all those in favour? Thank you. Councillor Edwards, you in favour? Thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Clokey. Yeah. Yeah. I think Councillor Knowles, you want to say something quickly?
Yeah, I was going to put, it was passed by Cabinet within Ashford that all councillors should do that safeguarding training, and I talked to the Cabinet member with responsibility of training, and he has agreed that level 1 training can, we can go under their wing to get this. It is very, very important for us all.
Okay. The next item is mayoral selection, to consider whether the selection process requires a review. I think Councillor Hickmott would like to say something.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I raised this issue. I was approached by 2 members of the public who were interested in the fact that we were now having public involvement, and they'd seen that recently 10 people signed a document for election of a councillor. And I was asked whether this would be the same thing to elect the mayor and deputy mayor. I did seek the advice of the town clerk, which advised me there's no regulation for that. It's purely done by our councillors. Do apologise. My proposal is, I think the system is unfair, and I feel that it should be done through seniority. Now, I know there's been people say, well, finding a suitable applicant and what have you. When I joined the council, I was made very welcome, and apart from one councillor, everybody was so helpful. I was advised to go on the committee, go for chairman of a committee and so forth, with the view that you got the ladder, and that's how I succeeded. And as I say, I would prefer to see a system where it's done in seniority. As to the question of I have no recollection or no knowledge of any public making a comment against the election of the forthcoming mayor. I've not parted that in any way.
Okay, any comments? Councillor Knowles.
Basically, as the clerk sent round an email, it's quite clear in the Local Government Act about councillors being best suited to decide who they vote for. I made it quite clear in the email that I sent round that I believe this, you know, we're a bit more than a parish council. Over the years we're evolving to being, you know, taking on more responsibilities, being more business-like. I agree with a chunk of what you're saying, Harry. I think it's people should be given the opportunity to be vice chairs, to be chairs, to work their way through this. It's very hard to just join and then do something. Yes. You've got to learn the ropes, etc. But, you know, much in my other council, when we're going for deputy leader and leader, it's you vote for who you think is going to do the job the best. And that's how, you know, how I would always look at that. Without predetermination, it's looking at the list that's in front of me on the evening and thinking who is best suited to, you know, to do that job.
Okay. I think at the moment it's too late for this mayoral election to change any of the criteria. So maybe if you'd like to bring up another time. Councillor Nelson.
I don't think we can change any criteria, but if the Standing Orders subcommittee wants to discuss it, they can do, but I don't think it's for tonight. It's going to be far too long a discussion.
Yeah. Councillor Mulholland.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. Certainly this election will be what it is, and I think councillors will vote for the candidate on the form that they think is best suited. I think most people will, because we don't have a policy of seniority. We don't have a policy of natural ascendancy that I can see. I would propose that we put this challenge of looking at the process of review to a very own newly formed public engagement committee, and there may be one or two other policies that we have and processes that we have that should be looked at as well, and really give them the challenge of coming up with options which may or may not be valid or feasible. Public engagement is about public engagement. The public have a view, and I know the argument is that councillors are best placed, etc., etc., etc. But the public don't necessarily see that, and they have misperceptions about the role of the mayor, for one thing. So I'd like to see the whole thing discussed properly and thoroughly and in a timely fashion through a subcommittee which is public engagement, and see how they think the public can be involved at the same time following the traditional etiquette of councillors voting. There should be some way of the public having a say. I don't know quite what that is. I had a proposal, but it got shot down in flames. But there may be better proposals around, so I think it should be reviewed.
Councillor Knowles.
So, again, I will say the Local Government Act is quite clear on this. No, it is quite clear on this. However, you know, we did review this last year. Perhaps, as Councillor Dr. Lovelidge just said, you know, it would go back to that committee and have a look at it again. Whether that will change in any way, all I can reiterate is it is up to, you know, you've got the pen in your hand, the paper on the table, and I think it's about determining, you know, who you feel is the right person to do the role.
Also, oh, sorry.
Go on. But we must make it quite clear. I mean, the role that we're proposing as a mayor here is totally, totally different to a leader in Ashford because they've got power. Whereas the role in Tenterden as a mayor is hugely nothing, really. It's hugely ceremonial, no real powers.
No, it's not. It's the role of a chair. The town clerk said it's the role of a chair, and we also have the civic duty. So, no. Yes, of course you can. Councillor, yeah, town clerk will answer.
We're actually bound by law on that one, Tash. There is no legal basis for public involvement in that scenario. It's been like that for nearly 50 years, and it's not, to my knowledge, been challenged. And the reasoning behind it is that to involve any members of the public, to be scrupulously fair, we would have to ballot the whole electorate, and therefore that would cost us £10,000 a year, and there'd be very little interest, I think you'll find, in voting.
Okay.
Which obviously, in me sending an email today, I did ask for some information and was met with an email that, to be honest, shocked me from the town clerk, saying that members of the public weren't actually allowed to request or put forward their points of view as to who should be there, which I find alarming, considering if I had a planning issue, I could lobby my councillor. If I had an issue with regards to a problem within the community, I could go and lobby my councillor. I don't feel that the email that I received was particularly neutral, which is what I would expect from a member of the town council.
Okay. Okay. Right, moving on to Councillor Nelson.
It's our meeting, isn't it? I think have we decided whether to refer it?
I think we refer it. At the moment, it's too late for this mayoral election. So if we discuss it at the standing orders again for the next year, we need to reform the committee. Yeah. Councillor Clokey, last comment. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Edwards would like to say something.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The point that Councillor Clokey's just made is absolutely true. Before devolution, before the 1972 Act, a mayor could be appointed from the general public and did not have to be a councillor. I'm completely at odds with Councillor Mulholland on this. I think where we have gone wrong here is obviously to let our mayor-elect system go, which is still widely used by the Borough Council, mayor-elect. And they're on, up there, of course, they have party politics, which we don't have in Tenterden. And they even managed to agree on a mayor-elect, which needs a round of applause, doesn't it? Because, indeed. I would say it's not a matter we need to discuss with the public. The councillors themselves will decide who, in their opinion alone, has the most experience, will represent the town the best out of the candidates that come forward at the time they come forward. Succession would be very nice if a deputy mayor followed a mayor and so on. But I can give you 3 or 4 examples where the upsets have occurred and that has not happened, and I'm not going to read them out to you tonight. For example, losing to another candidate can be a mixed blessing when you're in an election or are nominated. It wins you time to gain more seniority or experience. Being the victor in local elections means fighting to retain your seat as well as your ambition to be a mayor. That's a tough role, that. I believe that too few councillors would want to see the mayor-elect brought back immediately, but I would hope that one day, because of the way that the mayor-elect system works, whereby you have to, in front of the public, demonstrate that you can all work together on one night and show solidarity and loyalty. It's a wonderful system, but we're not there yet. I would just say this, Madam Chairman. I believe that the best candidate who will do their own canvassing, assess their support, and go on for it if they believe the time is right for them. If not, you try again. You hold your head high. The Town Council has excellent advice in our Town Clerk. He calls them recommendations. Whatever happens, provided members forget their usual duty to represent the public, a majority will be reached, and like always, we get on with the next business. It is for 1 year we're talking about each time. And if it suits the council to give you a second, a third, a fourth, well, that's all well and good. Occasionally, other factors, some mayors don't wish to stay longer than a year, which is another reason why it doesn't necessarily mean to be in succession, because that's very little time for a deputy mayor to train up. So the system we've got isn't perfect, but there's not much broken with it either. It is for the councillors to decide who best represents them at that time, and I think that is what we should stick with.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Edwards. So the subcommittee needs to be reformed. Councillor Hayden.
Could you say one thing, Madam Chairman? We cannot ignore the fact that the public have asked a question, whether we like it or not.
Councillor.
There is value to the public opinion at certain times.
But the email that I received earlier on clearly states that there isn't much value in public opinion because it's just the lobbying of councillors on who they can vote for.
Councillor Isworth.
I think it will be perfectly reasonable for this subject to be discussed in the Public Engagement Committee.
Yeah.
The public have a right to express an opinion on the subject. They might wish to lobby for some change in the arrangements or whatever. And the only other thing I believe I'm right in saying is that in order to be a candidate for mayor, you have to have been a councillor for 2 years. Is that correct? No, it isn't. Right. Oh, I beg your pardon.
Okay. So to revisit in the standing orders, do you need to, in the subcommittee, do you need to reform the subcommittee? Or whatever?
Committee structure subcommittee.
Yes. Oh, well, that's still ongoing, isn't it? So that can be revisited after.
It can.
Okay, I'm going to move into the closed session now for lease issues. Do you have lease issues? Because I've lost my thing. Lease issues. Can't remember. I dropped it off somewhere. I left it home. So what are we just doing? Oh, I'll turn.
Yes, this gentleman came to see me. He's actually a resident of a different ward, but his point was that some while back the council had agreed to put updates about the developments on the notice boards, and that he noted that this really hadn't happened and the subject hadn't been discussed again. I did explain to him that part of the problem is that the chairman of focus groups or project groups are not councillors. And the other thing is that it can be quite difficult to put information about a process which is very much in the exploratory stage into the public domain. And the point at which anything could be put up on a notice board, but when nothing may have been decided, was something of a problem.
I think the deputy clerk puts updates on the website, and we could use those, couldn't we, on the notice boards?
We could with a rejig, yes. Yeah, because it's clearly more extensive information. But yes, we could put something similar to what's released on the website.
I think his point was that, and I think it's a valid one, is that not everyone is computer literate, and that something on the notice board, as we have these notice boards, would be desirable even if it was relatively brief.
Okay. Councillor Nelson?
I have had fairly extensive discussions with the Deputy Town Clerk over this, and first of all there are practical problems in replacing the clear covering. But even that aside, one of the problems is that if we just publish the minutes of the various focus groups, that will cover the notice board 3 times over. If, on the other hand, we try to summarise them, that's going to take more office time.
It will do.
And yet, there is the website, and okay, not everyone has access to the website, but it's a case of using our staff time efficiently for the maximum benefit.
Okay, Councillor Ferguson.
I'd like to propose that at least we have a poster for each focus group on the notice board. So a poster for this. There is the fact advertising that there is a cinema focus group, there is a recreation ground focus group. So that what would there be, 4 posters, or at least it would look a bit of a colourful display. Okay. And invite then questions. Perhaps.
One proposal was that yes, you can have that sort of poster display, which will include the date and venue of the next meeting of that focus group. Yeah. So if anyone was interested, they could turn up and listen.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Can
one.
I say, Madam Chairman, as you know, we're doing the May Fair, and we've had quite a lot of requests via Sue's My Tenterden.
Yeah. Good.
Good.
Okay. So we have no minor matters, and we have no any other urgent business. So I close this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.